at me. Will we leave behind the innocent to grieve? On their own, on the run, when their lives have only begun. These could be our daughters and our sons. And just like a drum, I can hear their hearts beating. I know my God won't let them be defeated. Every child has a dream to belong and be loved. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love the least of these, then they will be brave and free. Shout your name in victory. When we love the least of these, when we love the least of these. Break our hearts once again. Help us to remember when we were only children hoping for a friend. Won't you look around? These are the lives that the world has forgotten, waiting for doors of our hearts and our homes to open. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love the least of these, then they will be brave and free. Shout your name in victory. When we love the least of these, when we love the least of these. If not us, who will be like Jesus to the least of these? If not us, tell me who will be like Jesus to the least of these. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love. Little hands, shoeless feet, lonely eyes looking back at me. Will we leave behind the innocent to grieve? On their own, on the run, when their lives have only begun. These could be our daughters and our sons. And just like a drum, I can hear their hearts beating. I know my God won't let them be defeated. Every child has a dream to belong and be loved. Boys become kings, at me. Will we leave?
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Good morning and welcome to the King's Report for Saturday, January 6, 2018, 8th year of Chungi, 11th month and the 20th day. I'm Tim Elder, and I'm here today with Ted O'Grady and Rio Tasho to help me out for the, as we do this for the second King of Chungi, Hyung Jin-mun. I'm reporting to you live from the Arrival Lounge with John F. Kennedy International Airport, Terminal 1, where a flight that was supposed to arrive at 10 a.m. on Friday morning is just now clearing customs.
Wow.
They're giving us the snowstorm as the reason, but anyway, that's what it is.
Wow.
The weather at the Tunningung area right now is at 6 degrees, but the real feel is right now, as last check, only 4 degrees below zero, but I think that when the wind blows, it's much colder than that, probably double digits below zero, so you need to be very, very careful there. But look forward, though, to as we go through the next week, because by the middle of next week, we're going to be in the 40s.
Whoa.
And even on Thursday, we're expecting some rain. All right, this has been Tim Elder from the Arrival Lounge of Terminal 1, John F. Kennedy Airport. I'm going to turn it over to Ted O'Grady and Rio Tashiro, and they'll take you through the rest of the program. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Life is always very exciting here in the sanctuary. We are flexible in front of God, and I got a phone call at 3 o'clock this morning from Tim, who was stranded at JFK Airport. He said, Ted, please come in and do the job in my absence, and Rio and Misha here as well. And so I'm very grateful to be here with you this morning. So I quickly asked Heavenly Father this morning for Rima, and I got John chapter 3, verse 24, which is very short. And it says, for John was not yet cast into prison. So it's so short that I thought maybe we probably need to put a little context into this short verse. What is the context and where is this happening? So I'd like to read from verse 23 through verse 30. So John chapter 23, and John also was baptizing in Aenon near to Salim, because there was much water there. And they came and were baptized. For John was not yet cast into prison. Then there arose a question between some of John's disciples and the Jews about purifying. And they came unto John and said unto him, Rabbi, he that was with thee beyond Jordan, to whom thou bearest witness, behold, the same baptizeth, and all men come to him. John answered and said, a man can receive nothing, except it be given him from heaven. Ye yourselves bear me witness, that I said, I am not the Christ, but that I am sent before him. He that hath the bride is the bridegroom, but the friend of the bridegroom, which standeth and heareth him, rejoiceth greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. This my joy, therefore, is fulfilled. He must increase, but I must decrease. So really, this is food for thought for myself personally. I think also for us as believers and disciples, particularly in the Sanctuary Church with the Second King. At the moment, we're in preparation for our Blessing Festival in February, from 22nd to 28th, and we've actually been doing outreach, particularly with in the Christian community. We've had Pastor Jaggers, Barry Jaggers, and his wife Penny come here last Wednesday and lead a Bible study for us, and we also had Pastor Anthony Stevenson and his son Raheem came up here from Philadelphia this Wednesday and shared with us with the King. And we had a Bible study this Wednesday where the Queen herself pleasantly surprised us and was with us, and we had a wonderful sharing there. But also, the King has been speaking very strongly about the Christian gospel, particularly in this past week, with the revelation of the rod of iron. And he's also declared that he has received the revelation of the rod of iron ministry, which we now are the rod of iron ministry, based on Revelation 19:15, also Revelation 21:27. So he has been really, the king has been calling out Christianity very strongly in the past couple weeks. And he has said that it's not enough that we meet Christians or Christian leaders, pastors, missionaries, whatever, and just have a discussion with them, sharing various points of view, and then just go home and say, hey, let's just wait till Judgment Day to see who's right or wrong. No, we've done that a lot during True Father's lifetime. We did a lot of Christian outreach. As we know, we've had hundreds, thousands of Christian ministers visit Korea, been blessed, and True Father himself came upon the foundation of Christianity and was to fulfill his mission within the context of the existing Christian foundation. But we know the history of that is that Christians in Korea, the early days, rejected Father, and it really became a pitched battle for us, Unification Church members, with Christians during the entire ministry of Father on earth. And really, if we look at it honestly, is there even one Christian leader, even one, who stood strongly and internally 100% united with True Father during his life on earth as a victorious John the Baptist figure? And I didn't see one. Maybe someone else did, but I didn't see one. So why would God give this rhema to me this morning? It's just a short one, really, 3:24. He didn't give actually John 3:23 to 30. God said John 3:24, which says, "For John was not yet cast into prison." So the king is speaking about the gospel of the kingdom, the gospel of the kingdom, the gospel of the kingdom, that Jesus did not preach the crucifixion. Jesus never preached the crucifixion. But there is evidence in the scripture that the mission of Jesus changed when John went to prison and when he lost his head in prison. At that point, Jesus went into the wilderness and prayed, and I believe did the 40-day fast, suffered the 3 temptations, and his mission then became the destiny of the crucifixion. And even then, we can see from then, if we go through the scripture, that Jesus kept preaching, he kept healing, he kept preaching the kingdom, and he kept appealing to his disciples. He was with his disciples. He was looking at his disciples. He was checking his disciples. Are they united with me? To what extent are they united with me? Can I trust them? Will they go this way with me? Do I have a foundation still to fulfill, to do this ministry on earth to the very end? We know the week before the crucifixion was Palm Sunday, when Jesus had his disciples get a donkey, and he sat on the donkey and rode through Jerusalem with the crowds coming to him and throwing the palm fronds in front of the donkey, declaring the King of Kings, the King of Israel has arrived. This is 1 week before the crucifixion. So we can't really say that God predestined the crucifixion, not at all. And if we're honest and we look at the scriptures, as our King has been pointing out to us in this past week, through many of all the Bible evidence and scriptures that our King has pointed out to us, that Jesus' mission was the gospel of the kingdom of God. And he desperately pursued that mission to the end of his life. And really only till the end. Jesus contended, if you read through the Gospel of John in its entirety as we get toward the end, when Jesus himself called his disciples, saying to them, I am in the Father, and the Father is in me, and I am in you, and you are in me. And even after he appeared after the resurrection, he told Peter, you will go the same course as me. You'll stretch out your arms and go the same course as me. And what is it to you if John doesn't go this way? Your way is to go the same path as me. So the gospel of the kingdom is the thing. And so Who are we? What are we? Who are we here in sanctuary? Who are we as human beings in general? And what is our mission here specifically? God is telling us, telling me personally, you have the mission of John the Baptist. Sanctuary Church has the mission of John the Baptist. Christianity has the mission of John the Baptist. So let us go to the Hyung of our true Father that is related with this. And again, God specifically pointed out this page to me, which is page 1135 in the Hyung. So Father's words here. If Adam and Eve had not fallen, then the children of God-centered direct lineage of Adam would have appeared. Adam was the firstborn son, the true father and the king. He was to be the king of the earthly and heavenly worlds, as well as the true parent and the true eldest son. Thus, Adam's family was the royal family of the heavenly kingdom. Then who was the grandfather in Adam's family? God was the grandfather. The father and mother were Adam and Eve. From the viewpoint of positions representing the past, the grandfather and grandmother stand in the place of God. God stands as the parent. Looking from the vertical perspective, we can say that God settles in a family consisting of 3 generations. The first generation is represented on the horizontal plane by a grandfather, second generation by a father, and the third generation by a son. Thus, the royal family that lasts for a myriad of generations starts from sons and daughters. So this is the purpose of creation. Christians have not clearly understood the purpose of creation. We explain this in the Divine Principle through our explanation of Genesis chapter 1, 27 and 28, where God gives the 3 blessings to Adam and Eve. But it's not been clear what went wrong, what the original sin was, until Father came and uncovered that and proclaimed that to the Christian world throughout his entire life. Even to today, however, we don't see disciples from the Christian world who are attending true Father's lineage and attending the second king. We are called, I am called, to pave the way for that to happen. How? Through the road of John the Baptist. Okay, what John the Baptist said here, and Father pointed this out in his life, in John 3:30, when John concluded, okay, John was challenged here. John the Baptist was challenged. His disciples came to him and saying, hey, Jesus over there is more disciples are going to be baptized by him, but you're doing this over here. So what's going on? This is what they're asking John. What they're really asking John is, why aren't you over there with Jesus? You've testified to him. Why are you over here baptizing here, and he's over baptizing here? What's that all about? It's a reasonable question, is it not? I mean, if we had 2 sanctuary churches, we've one down the road and one here, and the king is preaching and building his church here, and there's someone down the road who has their own church and is seemingly doing the same thing, but not particularly testifying to the king, then there would be a question, well, which one should we follow? Are you with him, or what's the situation here? So John actually gives an equivocal answer here. He kind of talks roundabout. He kind of says, well, yeah, I'm testifying to him, and he's the bridegroom, I'm his friend, but he must increase and I must decrease. So what John is doing is putting some distance between himself and Jesus. And for Christians to interpret this as they had is actually quite disingenuous for them to interpret this saying that, oh, John completely accomplished his mission and he was 100% united with Jesus, because he obviously wasn't. John said, he must increase and I must decrease. So if I'm a sanctuary member, if I come here to attend the second king, or if I come here saying, hey, I'm going to help the second king, I've got my own ideas, I've got my own ministry over here, and I got some advice that I can give to the king that might help out his ministry, then I might be saying, hey, the king will increase, but I must decrease. What John is saying is that I'm doing my thing over here, and he's doing his thing over there. So that's a real problem in the providence of God, okay? And this is related with the restoration of Abel and Cain and all the internal aspects of the providence that we've seen in Father's lifetime and we see bearing fruit now in our sanctuary. So what would be the proper attitude of John? John has to negate himself completely. First off, to understand the purpose of creation, as we're reading in Father's words this morning, The original purpose of creation is the restoration of three lineages on the vertical line. We see that reality taking place here in the sanctuary. From the blessing of Mother Kong, the True Parents' blessing on September 23rd, these three generations have been restored. Grandfather, grandmother's position, the father and mother's position, the children's position. We see that vertical restoration. How much sacrifice and indemnity needed to be paid for that day to come, and how things have changed spiritually in the world since September 23rd. It took 6,000 years and so much bloodshed, so much sacrifice, so much suffering for God to get the victory that we're seeing manifested in the sanctuary church here. And we're sitting here, we're just, people living at this time. We happen to walk in here. We happen to be living at this time. Here we are with this this huge providential fact coming down and sitting in our laps. So it's very easy for us to think from our own perspective, to maybe not realize the import of the situation, or maybe it's just too much to handle. It's not easy to digest the whole thing. So what should our attitude be? And really, I just need to go to conclude our Rima this morning. I want to share with you what God has given to me from the beginning of the year as what God told me. He said, "Hey, Ted, this is what I want you to do this year." And I opened up the way of God's will with our Father's words. And just to paraphrase, God said, "You need to completely deny yourself, 100% deny yourself, in order to be resurrected 100%. So God gave me personally the Rima of complete self-denial. Okay? That's a bit of a tough one because, we all have our own ideas and our own things we want to do in life. We're human beings. And, if the fall had not happened, if we weren't in this extraordinary situation of having to defeat Satan and separate from the second subject that is constantly within us, as good and evil, like two little birdies on our shoulders, good and evil, speaking in our ear. If we didn't have this situation, then maybe we would not have to go the way of absolute self-denial. But God is clearly stating through this, his own Rima to me, his own command to me to deny myself 100%, that God wants us to separate 100% from the archangel, from the influence of Satan. And that's the shortcut, that's the providential shortcut that God gave, really through the crucifixion of Jesus. So we're at an extraordinary time right now. We are called as a body of Christ, as an extended body of Christ, not only the sanctuary church, but the body of Christ in general, the Christian body of Christ worldwide. We are called now to deny ourselves in front of the second kingship of God, in front of true Father, the King of Kings, in front of our Lord Jesus Christ, because the historical victory is done. The three vertical generations are restored. This is an historical fact as of September 23rd, 2017. Therefore, God now has the ability to judge. God now has the ability to clearly separate good and evil, and God can now build his kingdom from this victorious foundation, these three vertical generations united. And imagine how long the course was. How much did true Father invest during his entire life on earth? How much did Jesus Christ invest before John the Baptist was beheaded? How much did Jesus go declaring the kingdom? How much did Jesus suffer in his family life? Alienated within his own family, thought of as a bastard child. His own mother looking askance at him, not wanting to be associated with him, losing him in the temple, abandoning him. So many secret stories we don't know about the suffering, the heart, the misery that Jesus had to go through. And still to come to the point where he could not even find one person, one disciple, while he was on earth, to deny himself in front of Jesus and to become one with Jesus and to become a shield and to pave the way for Jesus. John the Baptist only did it on a partial scale. So we are called to do this. now, today, not only Sanctuary Church, but the body of Christ worldwide. Every single person who walks in that door in front of the Sanctuary Church, every single person is called to go the course of 100% self-denial. And what does that mean? That means we make a conscious decision, an intentional decision, that we are people of faith, that we are going to deny our own thinking, our own point of view, to become one with the providence of God. And we receive that word through the second king. We receive that word through the bloodline that is now established. Okay, then we become a shield. See, then we allow the providence then to move forward to the next stage. If we don't do that, we block the providence. If we put the king in a position where he has to be a referee between arguing parties, then we're blocking the providence. So that's sinful. So we should not commit those kind of sins. And I would challenge all of our brothers and sisters here in the sanctuary, not only here in Pennsylvania, but throughout the world, America and the world, that we reflect upon ourselves and find that still small voice within that will guide us in this course. And so we have a tremendous opportunity right now. We have a huge blessing. And imagine this blessing. On February 28th, the King, God, is inviting all humanity to this blessing. It's a perfection level blessing. The entry into the book of life, and God, in his merciful love, his absolute love, is throwing open the gates. As Jesus said, the last will be first, and the first will be last. I'm challenging myself, I'm challenging brothers and sisters today. Let us totally negate ourselves in front of the will of heaven, attend God's will through our second king, and allow the providence of God to extinguish the evil in this world. Amen and adieu. We'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you very much.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Hi there, folks. And look at what I've got here today. My God, take a look at this. This is a BFR in 454 Casul with an octagonal barrel, magna porting, micarta grips. And look at that, it even has my initials on it, JM. Look at that thing of beauty. My God. Pop open the cartridge insertion door. And look at that cylinder spin. The finest revolvers in the world. Woo! That's a cannon. That's a cannon. Oh, man. Pretty accurate, though. Pretty much on target. Oh boy! Massive recoil.
Morning, welcome back to the King's Report. This is Ted O'Grady with Ryo Tashiro here on behalf of the of Hyung Moon, the second king of Chonilguk. Good morning, Ryo.
Morning, Tim. Or Ted, sorry.
Ted, right? Ted, Todd,
Tim.
Ted, Ed, Bedhead.
Yeah.
Bedhead was my nickname by my cousin. Right, okay.
I probably have some bedhead myself.
Yeah, yeah. So Ryo, you're a young person here who's been in the community for a while. We've enjoyed your SOS personally. I think you guys do a great job with the music, and also I think we had a chance to roll at the in the early days at the at the King's Dojo. You know, the King challenged us older guys to train. So I personally don't have experience really training, so I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So I went with you, and you very kindly didn't humiliate me too much. But that was great. It's been a great experience for me, you know, to get rid of those delusions and unlock epigenetics and all that. So really impressed by you, you young people here in the sanctuary, really, and it's quite an inspiration for me. So yeah, I want to welcome you to the show.
Well, yeah, I'm glad to be here. It's been a while coming. Usually, you know, I'm the guy that's on the other side of the cameras.
Right.
But, you know, I get to be in front of the cameras. But I'm in front of the cameras on Sundays, I guess, playing the piano, the keyboard. So it's not a new experience completely, but I don't talk usually that much, so we'll see how it goes.
But you do sing.
Yeah, I like singing more than playing the piano. I'm more comfortable singing in front of people than playing the piano.
Yeah, I enjoy the singing, and personally, you know, I love the gospel singing. And when you guys get up there with the six of you, you know, you get the full band up there with your brother Shigeru, who is a good guitarist, by the way. And maybe you can tell us just a little bit about SOS, how it is, how the development of it.
Oh,
maybe what your plans for the future.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, so it started, I don't know, almost 3 years ago, I guess. Yeah, 2.5 years ago, I would say. And yeah, it just started. It was just me, Shigeru, and Shimon on the drums.
Okay.
And we kind of just started practicing, and then we didn't really start. We were just practicing, kind of, you know, trying to get ready.
Yeah.
But Shimon wasn't quite. He was just kind of, you know, he's still in high school, or no, he wasn't even in high school. Maybe he was just getting into high school then.
Okay.
And so he wasn't very developed, so we were practicing a lot, you know, just me, him, and my brother. And then we brought on, you know, more singers like, you know, Marianne and my younger sister, and then eventually Diala came on to lead the singers.
Yeah. And
then we had our, you know, opening debut performance. I think it was June of, what was that, 2015, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was watching from the UK.
Yeah. So yeah, we had our day, and then, you know, just been gradually improving since then. And I think the future of it is, you know, we want to incorporate, you know, more people, so that more musicians, hopefully, so that, you know, you see different faces and more people can contribute and, you know, offer praise to God, you know, here in the sanctuary or elsewhere. And, you know, you never know where it might go. You know, we might get to the point, you know, where Hyungjim's doing world tours, and, you know, the band's touring with him. You know, there's a lot of future here. So if any musicians are looking, you know, to join, you know, we're looking for extras. I could use a break from playing the piano every Sunday.
Sure, okay.
So if, you know, going out there to everyone, you know, it's open.
Really? Okay. So you guys are ambitious.
I mean, Hyungjim's ambitious, so if you're going to follow him, you have to have the same ambitions.
Sure, of course. Yeah. That's great, really. Now, in regard to the music, the genre itself, like... you seem to tend toward of course, there's the holy songs, right? Which, you know, they're the traditional ones. But with the holy songs, they're just kind of straightforward. You don't do harmonies. It's kind of it's kind of like, you know, singing out of the songbook. But when you do the praise worship, that's where, you know, things get a little more creative, maybe. Now, what about you? What about other genres? What about like gospel or country gospel or spirituals or like even like sacred music? You know, like there's a whole category of different types of praise music.
Yeah, I mean, we would like to branch out, but, you know, with the singers that we have, you know, they're just more comfortable, you know, kind of with the more kind of poppy kind of Christian rock kind of singing. And I know for myself, you know, I like more the Christian rock kind of style. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have like a gospel singer, someone that could really,
Yeah.
belt it out. But it's just not what we have currently. I mean, yeah, if the people are there, we're flexible in the style.
Do you feel like you have the ability to handle a gospel singer occasionally, like a guest singer or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we've had guest singers in the past, Yeah, you were a guest singer one
I
time.
was once, yeah. I'm not particularly gospel, but
Yeah. Yeah, but it's just, it's whatever the singer's comfortable with, we're willing to accommodate.
yeah. Because the music is Father in his early ministry. Also, they used to call him the crying church. Do you know this story, right?
I might have heard it.
Father
But
was, true Father was in Korea when they were very poor, right, at the wartime and all that. But the Christianity was very fervent there. It was Pentecostal. Have you ever experienced like a Pentecostal church or speaking in tongues or that kind of thing?
I don't know about, but we used to go to a lot of black churches in Ohio.
Oh, you
We
did?
used to live back near Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
So we would, go witnessing to me as a family and the other families in the area. We would, every occasional Sunday we'd go to a, local church
Right.
in the Cleveland area, and we would, so you get that kind of experience.
Yeah.
But I don't really remember, specifically, like the really, captured by the Spirit kind of moments. But
Yeah.
it was definitely, kind of an elevated, kind of atmosphere.
Right, okay. So the African American church is in general a bit more spirit-filled,
Yeah.
expressive.
And really hot.
Hot?
Really hot. I don't think they
You mean
they believe in air conditioning. Like you
the
get
temperature's hot.
temperature's hot. Yeah. I don't know if it induces the Spirit more or what,
Really?
but they just don't seem to turn the air conditioning on in some of those churches.
So that's your memory, eh?
Yeah, it's just. I mean, I was,
Yeah.
8 or 10, so it's like
Yeah.
you remember the bad things,
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, I have to go to church again. It's gonna be really hot, and I'm not gonna understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, I remember it was good. I liked the music a lot back then. They had a good.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
good music.
That's what I was going to ask you about the music. So, was that kind of formative for you to hear some of the music in the black churches in Cleveland?
Yeah, a little bit. You listen to some of the the organists or like the keyboardists for those churches, and you get inspired.
Yeah. Okay. So, like I recall with Father, for me, it's I really love the music in church personally because especially the beginning of the service, because it tenderizes your heart, so that we can receive God and the Holy Spirit, So I really love it when you guys, really give it your all in the beginning. I know the end is always great, but I just recall many times that when Father in the early days, like I was mentioning, of course I wasn't there personally, but I did have the experience of doing pioneer witnessing in the early '80s in Indiana, Illinois, and going out alone and visiting Christian churches and visiting and singing and getting to know people, right? But in those days when Father gave his services, according to what I heard, they would sing holy songs. They would sing Christian hymnals, like some of the traditional ones, for like an hour and a half, until the Spirit came. People would be weeping and weeping and weeping. And then Father would speak for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and it was the Spirit they were just out of this world. And, that's maybe whether we'll ever reach to that extent or not, I don't know. Maybe part of that is the circumstances were so meager. It seems that when the circumstances are very difficult and people cry out for God with more fervor.
Yeah, I mean, we could always, have those kind of, get together praise and worship sessions. It's just, like I said, we only have, the one musician on each, instrument. We don't have any, kind of replacements or, step-ins. So it's kind of, once a week. We get together, practice once a week, and then, we perform once a week.
Right.
So it's, I mean, everyone else has their different things. Some of them are still in school.
Yeah, I understand.
And we're working. So it's, but it would be nice, to have like professional, we go a long time.
Yeah.
People come in and there's music playing and, but it's not really in the cards right now.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
encouraging
that would
you
be
guys,
nice,
You know,
yeah.
I'm just encouraging you guys and
Yeah.
saying from my perspective how I enjoy it. You know, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing, and also Shigu, he's a good guitarist.
Yeah.
You know? And a sense of rhythm there as well. 'Cause the rhythm's important because that sort of plucks your heartstrings and allows the spirit to come too. You know, so really thankful to you guys, encourage you guys,
Oh,
and
well,
you're doing a
thank you.
great job. It's great to have those ambitions. You know, the King's going to Switzerland.
Yeah.
Oh man, Providence is opening up. It's exciting days. You know, so you never know.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yep.
So listen, you wanted to share something with us this morning about Bernie Sanders' tweet.
Yeah, I was looking at things, I wanted to talk about last night, and then I was just kind of trolling Twitter a little bit, and then I saw this tweet from Bernie Sanders. It's a video. He was tweeting at Donald Trump, saying about the recent tax cuts that went through, and it was just this video of a bunch of kind of millionaires saying that they want their taxes raised. And I thought that was so funny because, you don't need to be forced to pay more. You can just send in more on your check.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Just
You
add
have-
a
you
few
have the
zeros
option.
if you're inclined,
You do have the option to send more.
Yeah, so it's just, they must really think people are that stupid that, they're saying, oh, I want the government to raise my taxes, but really what they're saying is they want the government to raise everyone's taxes, and then, everyone's always talking about how the rich have the tax loopholes and they can hide their money. So raising taxes on the rich is just kind of pointless because they don't pay the taxes anyway.
Right.
According to the Bernie Sanders of the world, evil corporations are always hiding their money and just hoarding it. So there's no point in raising the taxes on those people if they want to pay more. Freedom and responsibility. They should be able to just write a check for a little bit more, and just have that kind of if they're really inclined and they want to do something good with their money, donate to charity. Don't even pay more taxes. If you donate to a charity, you get more bang for your buck. There's so much red tape and bureaucracy involved with where the tax money goes that your money is more well spent and in just donating it. So I thought that was really funny. I encourage everyone to go see it, just to really kind of, really just,
It's funny.
it's like, and then, there's the people that, believe that like, oh, these people are, they're righteous, they want us to raise their
Oh, I
taxes.
see. Okay.
But it's just the kind of, sheep mentality, that those people have.
Yeah.
It's just kind of mind boggling.
Okay. So we got that video?
I think Misha's trying to pull it up, but
Yeah. Funny about Bernie Sanders. You mentioned Bernie Sanders because I'm from Massachusetts, right? And I worked with Father in the early days in the political work for a little while. In 1988, when the elder George H.W. Bush was running for president. And we did kind of like what you guys did here last year with the scorecards, the 500,000 scorecards. So Bernie was a senator in Vermont, which is in New England.
yeah.
So see, Bernie's from New York. He's a socialist. He's a Jewish socialist guy, from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
He goes up to Vermont, which has a pipeline up the New York Thruway to Vermont, where they kind of targeted Vermont as a state that they had a small enough population base that they felt they could go in there and dominate that state and turn it into a model socialist state. And that's kind of the history of Bernie Sanders, So Bernie Sanders has always been dyed-in-the-wool socialist.
Yeah.
But he's been very intentional about, ideologically bringing America down into socialism. But he was such a pain in the neck up there. I remember early on, Bernie Sanders would be up there, and the people of Vermont, the local people, it's kind of like here. It's Vermont's like upstate New England. You have gun owners, you have hunters, fishermen, and then all these aliens are coming in from New York to just try to target their state, and that's kind of what happens with this kind of strategy of the left to gain political control. So it happened with New Hampshire, and now I heard that also Pennsylvania's being targeted by liberals. So you come over here to Pike County, it's like, hey, what's this? It's like the place is huge, but then right on the other side of the border, you got New Jersey, you got New York. You got all the liberal lunatics over there. Yeah. So we have to be vigilant about our responsibility to be engaged in the political process as well. So how are we doing? Did we get that video?
I don't think we should. We can maybe get it after the break.
Yeah, we get it then. Okay. Okay, so thanks, Rio, for that. So, is there anything else you want to mention?
Not particularly. I mean, I went through the news last night, but nothing really jumped out at me
that
I wanted to talk about.
All right.
Seems kind of like, a lot of, with this recent book, Fire and Fury, it's just a lot of, kind of...
Yeah, okay.
Bad blood just going around, it seems.
Yeah. Maybe when we come back, we can talk about that, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone. We'll be back in a minute or two.
Boy, wasn't that fun shooting this Tommy gun today?
It's always fun shooting Tommy guns. This one especially. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
All polished and chromed up. It really looks like $1 million.
Yeah. Elliot Ness would have loved one of those.
Yeah, and it's available right now in your favorite dealer, and you go pick one up.
Yeah, just have him call your distributor.
I mean, the gun, was initially made way back when, back in the 27 is this one.
Yeah. Model 27.
I was surprised by how quick it knocked down those plates.
Oh, 3.5 second run. Under 3.5 second run, knocking down a plate right. 341.
I mean, the gun is heavy. It's about, 12, 14 pounds, especially with this drum, but it's surprising how quick you can go with it. It would actually make quite a good self-defense rifle at home.
If I climbed in somebody's window and they were aiming that at me, I think I'd get out of there real quick. So.
That sounds about right to me.
Just the intimidation factor alone.
Fire!
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
Good morning, Ted O'Grady back with the King's Report here with Ryo Toshiro. We're sitting in on behalf of Second King of Cheonilguk, Hyung Jin Moon. And nice to be back with you, Ryo.
Oh, nice to be
After
back.
that short break. And we were talking a little bit in the break about the cold. Man, it's cold.
Yep.
I'm telling you, I'm just getting used to living around here in Hawley. I mean, I got to drive about 40 minutes, from here at 4 in the morning, and I got this little car. I don't have a 4x4. I don't have the right type of vehicle, really. It's a little car, like a little Boston car. And I'm thinking to myself, man, if I break down out here, that's kind of life-threatening because it's so cold. It's so cold, and I couldn't guarantee that AAA is going to come out and help me.
Yeah.
So I went out yesterday just for a few minutes. We were actually recording this video for the outreach we're doing with the Gun Owners of America and the blessing, the prayer breakfast, and I still get a little tingling in my little pinky finger there. Just about 7 or 8 minutes. So really, the cold is like the king says. We have to respect Mother Nature, and learn how to take dominion.
Yep, it's the #1 killer.
Yeah.
Hypothermia.
Of course, you guys have been trained over a few years with the king.
I mean, it's not so much about training as well. It's part of it, but being prepared too.
Right.
So, like in your car, you were saying, what if I broke down? She'd have like a kit, like a 72-hour kind of kit.
Right.
In your car, if you look at the back of the king's car, and it's just filled with, whatever, like camping and survival stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, just being kind of prepared, just at least a 72-hour kit. So what that means is, you could survive. It has enough food and shelter for 72 hours. So if you do break down, you're pretty set for a while.
Right. Exactly. So I don't have that kit now, and I know I don't have it. Yeah. So when I'm driving out there, I'm thinking, hey, I'm kind of putting my life at risk. Yeah. So, we take that risk. But really, the preparation is really important. That's part of kingdom building too, isn't it? Yeah. It's part of the mentality of the kingdom that the king is encouraging us to develop. So, also all of us old guys, we're all in training here in the sanctuary, and but it's great. It's like there's no age limit in the kingdom of God. Like people look at me and my gray hair and whatever, and the fact that I have a few extra pounds, which I try not to. I try not to. I feel a bit badly, when I go to do the training and the jiu-jitsu training, because I'm so new at it, and if I go and spar with one of the young guys like yourself, or like Marshall, who's just a killer, or Shinman or Shimpao, then I don't want to just like sprawl on them. Do you know what I mean? Using my weight, because it just looks like a whale on the floor, Rather, I feel like, no, I want to think of myself as a young person, get that age out of my head and train as a young person, and learn some proper technique, and start to reduce that age, start to go in the other direction. So you guys are okay with that, right?
Yeah. Well, I would say actually, use your weight. It's better training, for everyone.
Do you think?
Yeah. Hyung was always talking about iron sharpens iron. Okay. So, he's actually, happy that, these bigger people are coming in. Okay. And he wants us to roll. Because, most of us actually are training are actually, smaller. Like, right. I'm 150, 5'5". Sure, yeah. So I'm not, a big person. Yeah. But that's what, training these kind of martial arts is all about, is, giving the smaller guy, a better, chance. Okay. So I would say, go ahead, use your weight, especially with Shinman and Shimpao. Yeah. And just go ahead.
Okay.
Don't hold back.
That kind of liberates me. Yeah, yeah. So that's good.
But like you said, learning technique is important, but don't be afraid to, your weight is an advantage.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's kind of how the thing is about jiu-jitsu, right? It really is just a street fight. We think about MMA, right? The thing I love about it really is it's so realistic. It's like the king always talks about getting rid of delusions. Man, you get rid of your delusions real quick in the dojo. Yeah. But you realize when jiu-jitsu, you realize, hey, if you're in a position where if you're choked out, if you are submitted, you're dead.
Yep.
You know, basically in a street fight, you're dead. You are dead. You are killed, right? So if you choke someone out and you hold that choke, he's going to die.
Yep.
So it really is a wake-up call, you know, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a very humbling experience, you know, because you're being completely like dominated. Like if you ever get the chance to roll with Hyung, you know, you really know what it feels like to be completely, you know,
completely dominated.
physically dominated. It's really something. So it's a very humbling experience, you know, and it you know, it works into a kind of a spiritual aspect too, you know. You know, if you're physically, you know, submitting to, you know, someone else, you know, so spiritually you can think of it, you know, it kind of opens you up to submit to God, you know, and kind of like you were saying this morning, you know, deny yourself, you know, 100%.
Yeah.
So kind of like, you know, you can kind of connect the two, kind of, you know, the physical, you know, being dominated to, you know, giving yourself up and, you know, letting God, you know, work in your life.
Yeah, I believe that's true. And to be honest with you guys, I mean, I've only been doing it for like a couple months, and I was truly surprised at the level that you were already at when I came in there. And also, like you said, the spirituality of it as well, because the King always, he always has us say the Lord's Prayer at the end. And so also the little rituals we do are also important, you know, it's like the physical and the spiritual are connected very much there, you know. So that training is really, it's really important. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity, you know, later in my life, you know, because it is rejuvenating. Yeah. You know, and it's great to be humbled, you know, because you do, you know, we do tend to be arrogant, you know. We really have this fallen bloodline that, you know, God has been working to get rid of. And so really, yeah, that is quite crucial. And the King also, he invites everyone. Yeah. You know, I only went there because he invited me. You know, I don't want to just walk into someone else's house, you know, and eat their food and say, see you later. You know, I feel a little bit embarrassed about that. But, you know, he invited us all to come to training. He said last weekend, I think, on the Sunday service, he said, this is a rite of passage. He again invited everyone. And, you know, it is physically a bit challenging. You know, you're not trained well. And not only you have to deal with the humiliation, you know, of being submitted by you, for example. This kid's 150 pounds, and he's, you know, he's killing me. But you also generate love as well. You know, you feel closer, and I feel closer to you. You feel. I mean, the King said last Tuesday, I think, when I was there, how precious your partner is, your training partner, because he mentioned the fact that in the MMA world, like. Or the martial arts world, as you get up to higher levels, it's very difficult to find a partner that is going to go with you. Yeah. It gets a lot of ego involved, and, you know, guys are out to kill you. Yeah, and you can't really learn, you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu without a partner. Right. I mean, you don't get the feel for, like, you know, how the techniques work and, you know, how the body moves when you're doing the techniques. I mean, you know, they have, you know, dummies. Kind of sandbag dummies, but it's not really the same. So really, your partners are your greatest asset. And that's what Hyung was always saying, like the motto of the Peace Police, Peace Militias, love God, love your neighbor. So, and part of that, you know, you're loving, you know, your training partners, but also loving your neighbor is, you know, even though you might not agree with your neighbor, you know, he says this a lot, even though you might not agree with your neighbor, you don't like them, you know, you're willing to, you know, protect them and, you know, die for them. And then also, you know, through that, you're loving God. And through your training, you know, like you were saying, the spiritualistic part of it, you know, saying the prayers and those kind of, you know, I don't want to really say ritual things, but, you know, that kind of feel, you know, you're offering that to God. You're offering, you know, that kind of struggle and that hardship up to God. So it's really, you know, kind of, I really like that he puts it in that kind of perspective, you know, love God, love your neighbor. And you're really, you know, following those commandments of Jesus in your training. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really, I find, I would recommend it to everybody, you know, but it's tough for the older guys. You go there untrained, and man, you have to go through the humiliation, number one, and then you also have the physical challenges too, you know, so you have to be careful not to get seriously hurt. Yeah. And the thing is, what I noticed is that if you have any ego, you're likely to get hurt. Yeah. You know, so I went in there, I think 2 weeks ago, I went in there and wanted to fight the jihadis in London. and I went after Marshall, right? And I got hurt. I got like a rib.
A bruised rib.
A bruised rib. I've had broken ribs before from basketball. So that is it, and you don't notice it at the time because you're full of adrenaline, right? And why did that happen? Because, you know, I was a bit egoistic maybe, or, you know, what was I doing? I was doing something. I was sending out a video to my son in London. I was trying to make a point to him, you know, so I maybe went beyond my limit. So Marshall, because he knows how strong he is, he was good enough not to kill me, you know. But yeah, so it really is. It really is integrated.
Yeah.
You know, it's integrated training, which is great. So that's awesome. So Rio, we're going to talk about the Bernie Sanders situation, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Do you get that little
we
video?
found the video. If
You want to just look at the video a little bit?
play it for right now.
American icon Bernie Sanders.
Who have greater wealth, we want to be taxed more.
My taxes should be raised, and other millionaires' taxes should be raised.
Millionaires like myself should pay higher taxes, starting with the idea that we earn more money.
I don't want to live in a country with a small number of rich people and a huge number of poor people.
Every time Congress touches the tax system, I seem to come out ahead. And that has struck me as quite remarkable.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
think
just enough.
America,
if people want to watch it, the whole thing, it's 5 minutes long. But,
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or 4.5 minutes.
Okay.
But
So what do you think of these guys?
I mean, you know, when these people, you know, they talk about, you know, this small percentage, you know, the 1%, you know, that actually incorporates a lot of people. Like, you know, they probably know someone who fits into this evil 1% category. Like, I'm sure, you know, Cookshanam probably fits into that 1% category. Yeah. So, you know, when I hear people talk about, you know, these evil millionaires, you know, that are hoarding all the money, you know, I think of Cookshanam, not that he's evil, but, you know, I think, that's the kind of person they're talking about, you know. But, you know, I mean, he's my boss, so I don't want to say too many things bad. There's a bias there, but
you don't have anything bad.
No, I mean, like, I'm not saying anything, but I like, you know, I think of all the good he does. You know, he donates a lot to the church. Exactly. You know, he hires so many people. So when they talk about, you know, this kind of evil person, you know, I don't see that. You know, I mean, sure, there's, you know, there's evil people. Both, you know, Hyung's always talking about. It's not, you know, rich and poor. It's, you know, the evil people. You know, the Satan lineage in the rich class. You know, and, you know, the Satan's lineage. You know, the evil people in the poor class. Is, you know, that's not the divide as poor and rich. It's, you know, evil and good. Right. So, you know, they're always trying to divide us into thinking that way, you know.
Yeah.
And then it clouds us, you know. It's like they're saying, oh, you know, all millionaires are bad, so they should give up all their money. They should be taxed more. But really, you know, what that does is it just, you know, stunts everything, you know. Right. Really, you know, hinders everyone's kind of desire to innovate and grow and, you know, be prosperous. Because they're just going to take everything away anyway. You know, Bernie Sanders said he'd be fine with a 90% tax, you know. Like, I mean, it's incredible, you know, that people think this way. That, you know, they don't want to keep what they earn, you know.
Oh, Bernie's in the 1% too.
Yeah, he's got what, 4 houses, and it's just so hypocritical, you know. It's just, it makes me mad, you know. Yeah. Like I see.
You're in the 1%, Rio?
No, not by a long shot. But you know, I see, like, you know, good people like, you know, Cookshanam, and I've met other people in the area, you know, that are wealthy. You know, I met, you know, the people that own the grocery store, you know, Dutch's Market. They went to a dinner thing that Cookshanam was hosting. And, you know, there's so many good people. They, you know, they own businesses, and they've risked, you know, everything. They've worked hard. You know, they've put in, you know, 16-hour days, you know, 20-hour days, and then they've invested. And, you know, people are always thinking like, oh, you know, like I was going through the comments on the Twitter video, and, you know, people are talking about, oh, like, you know, how, you know, having like 1,000 workers is more important. Like the 1,000 workers is more important than the investor, you know, invests $1 million into that company. You know, the 1,000 workers should, you know, dictate what the company does. But, you know, that person who's, you know, investing $1 million, if the company goes under, they lose that, you know, there's that risk. So, I mean, if you know, if the company goes under, people just lose a job, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they can find another job or, you know, do something else.
Yeah.
But if that guy loses his $1 million, it's gone. He doesn't, you know, get that back. So
Right.
there's that risk involved, you know, with owning businesses and being prosperous and, you know, trying to innovate and create something that helps society. But with taxing people, it's not, it doesn't offer room for growth because already you're taking away, you know, from the dollar value. I forget the number that, you know, Hyung went over in Sunday service, but I think it was something like 60%, you know, gets, you know, there's like that kind of overhead on the $1, you know, you lose 60 cents and only get 40 cents or something like that. Don't quote me on that number, but you know, there's so much kind of friction with the government. And so really, you know, the private sector is, you know, where we should be focusing, you know, on supporting. So like with tax cuts, you know, I feel like that's really the way to increase growth. And I feel like whenever I see these people, you know, complaining about the tax cuts, you know, I always go back to, you know, that chart of the corporation taxes, you know, with us in Europe, we're like something like, I forget, it was something ridiculous, like 30 or 40%.
Well, like 35%.
35%,
like
yeah. And then Europe's like the next one down is like, you know, 20 or something, 22.
Yeah.
And it's so ridiculous, you know. You know, Bernie's always, you know, holding up all these, you know, socialist countries. Well, yes,
like
these
Sweden.
like, and then
Sweden.
they have
Everyone,
a corporate
let's go live
tax
in
that's like
Sweden.
10% less than ours. So it's like, we're not even, you know, like doing anything that your role models aren't doing, you know?
Right.
We're just trying to, you know, equal the playing field a little bit.
We actually have a heavier tax burden than the role models.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. But it's really a psychological thing, Rio. And I can speak from my own experience living in Britain for 14 years after growing up in America, right? Is that, you know, the Brits, it's a guilt shame thing, really, you know? Like in Britain, people kind of apologizing for being wealthy. They feel like they have to. Oh, I'm sorry. They're always saying sorry. Yeah. Sorry, I have some money, sorry. But there's some, if this kind of system comes in or this kind of mentality, then there's a cap. Like there's a psychological thing that there's a disincentive, as you said. There's a disincentive to grow and to invest, you know. And we can see, since President Trump was elected, the psychological impact on the economy with this huge ramp up of the stock market. I mean, a lot of that is psychological. The stock market is a indicator of the future, right? So amazing. I mean, America, if those taxes are reduced, okay, and we're on the right track now with President Trump, and you know, spiritually, we have this awesome opportunity now with the second king. We have the victory of the blessing, the true parents' blessing in September. I mean, we have all the things in place for a tremendous, you know, explosion of prosperity to take place. Where we're behind a little bit is our mentality. So that's what's so dangerous about Bernie. You know, like I was telling you, Bernie was in Vermont, you know, and they just, the guy just targeted, you know, with his liberal friends, socialist friends, Vermont, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I noticed none of these guys look like alpha males. Who are they, you know?
Yeah.
Is Ben and Jerry up there? I don't know. Anyway, thanks for that, Rio.
Yep.
We'll be back soon. Stay with us.
Behind the innocent to grieve on their own.
Welcome back to the King's Report. This is Ted O'Grady with Rio Tashiro on behalf of the second king of Chonilguk, Hyung Jin Moon. And Rio, we're going to go a little bit into the news now, okay? We want to specifically look at this story about this book by Michael Wolff entitled Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House. So have you heard about this book?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't originally supposed to come out yet, but I think they moved up the publication to, I think it was yesterday. So it's out now, I believe. And so, yeah, there's a lot of, controversy surrounding it, a lot of just kind of bad blood all around, I think, you know, just kind of, a lot of lies, I believe. I mean, I'm not sure. I haven't, gone through, all the...
Yeah. So you haven't read the book?
No, I haven't read the book. It just came out. I believe so, yeah. I believe it was supposed to come out Friday.
Okay. So really, I honestly have not been following this story. So let's go through it, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just going to read from Drudge here, okay?
Yep.
And it says, the author of the explosive new Trump book says he can't be sure if parts of it are true.
The author doesn't even know if
that's
there's...
the point you're saying. If you write a book, right, you say, I'm not sure what's true or not.
I mean, I guess he wants it to be in the fiction section of the library.
Well, it could be in the fiction section. You put it in science fiction. Can't be sure. Okay, well, let's see what this says, okay? So Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House has set the political world ablaze. It contains vivid, detailed, and embarrassing accounts of President Donald Trump and those around him. But the book's author, Michael Wolff, says he can't be sure that all of it is true. The author of the explosive new book about Donald Trump's presidency acknowledged in an author's note that he wasn't certain all of its content was true. An author's note means that it was written in the book?
Yeah, usually they kind of preface the book, with a little, like, saying, why they wrote it,
Right.
or what was their purpose in writing it. And then there's a little, like, it says further down in the article.
Yeah, okay. You're looking at the article then?
Yeah.
Okay.
It says, for many of the accounts of what has happened in the Trump White House are in conflict with another. Many in Trumpian fashion are baldly untrue.
Right.
These conflicts and that looseness with the truth, if not with reality itself, are an elemental thread of the book. So he's already, saying some of my sources probably lied to me.
Right.
And so he's already saying that before he even gets started in the book. This is just the prologue.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have let the players offer their versions, in turn allowing the reader to judge them. In other instances, I have, through a consistency in the accounts and through sources I have come to trust, settled on a version of events I believe to be true.
Okay. Right.
So this is his fantasy, not necessarily the reality.
So it sounds like a subjective point of view there.
Yeah. So I mean, and then there's just a lot of kind of fallout from this.
Yeah.
Because especially with Trump and Bannon,
right?
There's a lot of bad blood going on there. Because further down it says that Bannon, hasn't denied the quotes that he gave. I guess I don't know if he gave them to Wolff or not,
right.
or Wolff got them from a secondhand source. Probably a secondhand source. I wouldn't imagine that. They're directly from, but maybe that was that was a different article. But basically, Bannon was quoted as saying that Trump was kind of unpatriotic and kind of ignorant, or I forget the exact wording he used, but he basically called Trump stupid, and also he called Ivanka Trump stupid. But as long with everything else in this book, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but the thing with it is that Bannon hasn't denied it yet. That's the thing. So Trump, got on his phone and started tweeting, tweeting at Bannon, calling him. I forget what he called him. He was like something Steve. It was like
Sloppy Steve.
Sloppy Steve. Yeah, that's what he called him.
I'm reading it right here. This
Trump.
Yeah. He says, this is Trump's tweet. I authorized zero access to White House. Actually turned him down many times for author of phony book. I never spoke to him for book. Full of lies, misrepresentations, and sources that don't exist. Look at this guy's past and watch what happens to him and Sloppy Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a very, good play by Donald Trump to be insulting Bannon. Bannon's been, kind of a big supporter of him, with Breitbart News and everything. So, he doesn't have many friends, so I don't think it's time for him to start turning old friends into new enemies. So, I mean, it's just, I don't think he's handling the situation well. I mean, he's potentially, filing a libel suit against the author of the book.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if it's, but that's like, there's a rumor about that. So, I mean, yeah, just settle it in court. If it's libel, then sue the guy, and I'm sure, lying about the president, isn't going to get you a small fine or just a slap on the wrist. It's going to, get you some penalties, but, just solve it in court. There's no reason to, I mean, even he said it's full of lies, misrepresentations. So don't give it the time of day, just it's lies.
But we know that's not Trump style.
Yeah,
in any situation.
Yeah, but it just seems kind of, not the smart move here to kind of go after Bannon with this stuff.
You might be right. We'll have to see how that plays out. But I'm always amazed by Trump's ability to brand people. Sloppy Steve. It's perfect because we're looking at the guy, the millionaires there.
Yeah.
From Vermont, the Vermont millionaires.
Well, I don't know if they're from Vermont.
Well, the guy that I pointed out looked like a Vermont millionaire. Said, "Hey, he's sloppy,"
Yeah.
So Steve Bannon, he's kind of like this casual New Hampshire type of guy that's wears casual clothes and looks a little bit sloppy, a little bit unkempt. So Trump's really good at branding. So we have to see how
Maybe he started in marketing. I don't know.
Yeah, we have to see how that plays out. But I mean, do you think in regard to this on a wider context, do you think it's actually a dangerous situation for Trump? This book could it?
I don't think so. I mean, there's all this. Every day there's something like, Mueller and the FBI are investigating. Ties to this. Yeah. Mueller and the FBI are investigating ties to this. This leaked. There's all this like kind of quote unquote dirt surrounding the Trump administration. So it's just adding to the pile that's already big and it's not affecting anything. It's just there's already a big pile of dirt there, but I mean Trump's still getting the job done,
Yeah.
So as long as he keeps delivering on his campaign promises, I feel that there's really not much that can stand in the way.
Okay, well that's good. It's a positive outlook, I guess his enemies must be hoping that at some point this stuff will stick.
I mean, I think they're just they don't have any actual kind of kind of debate or a platform to stand on that they can debate like the tax cuts, for example.
Right, yeah.
So they just call them names.
Yeah.
They call him greedy, they call him ignorant, they call him stupid, and then they throw this book at him with all these accusations and lies probably for the most part.
Right. Yeah. It seems that way, but man, it's so unusual. I mean, to have a president like this, it's just unprecedented. I mean, you never expect a president to get in the gutter.
Yeah.
Like that. I think that's what people feel about Trump. It's just, how can you just tweet? But then again, that's a strong point of Trump too. Is like the story the other week where he invited those supporters on the side of the road in Mar-a-Lago to his country club and treated them well and was normal with them. He's the blue-collar billionaire.
Yeah.
So part of his success is being willing to get in the gutter and fight. So, I mean, maybe it's part of a kingdom mentality.
Yeah.
I mean, the king was talking about this yesterday, wasn't he? About we need to be humble, but we can't be doormats. Right. So when we fight, he is a sloppy Steve.
Yeah, it does look kind of sloppy.
Look at him.
It's an interesting hairstyle. I wouldn't go for that.
Yeah,
but.
Steve from Concord, New Hampshire, whatever. I don't know, but so maybe it's part of kingdom mentality. I mean, we're talking about the Rod of Iron ministry. We're talking about being judges in a way, that kind of thing. It's that's a big step.
Yeah.
So I mean.
Well, yeah, what I think it really does is it kind of opens up a new kind of expectation of the president. Before, you'd only kind of relate with the president through the, official,
mainline media.
Yeah, kind of mainline media, and also the press releases, when they would get in front of the podium and speak. Right. But now you have this kind of more, casual kind of connection. And then, it doesn't just work one way, people tweet back at him, so there's kind of like almost a conversation there.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of, brings the president down to almost like kind of a relatable kind of position. So instead of it being, this kind of untouchable kind of far away person who's supposed to lead the country, he's more of like, oh, he's on my phone right there. I can, voice my opinions. I can see what he's thinking about. So I feel like, in future administrations, kind of this kind of social media aspect, kind of relating more directly might be a big part just because of the president, precedent he's setting, with his kind of Twitter feed.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Rio, also, America's the only country in the world like this. You do know that. It's just like throwing what they say in baseball, throw a curveball or a knuckleball. Do you know what those are?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like Trump keeps everyone off balance, but I think it's brilliant, really. I remember when Reagan came in. I mean, there are a lot of parallels between Reagan and Trump. That you wouldn't remember that because you probably weren't even born at the time of Reagan. But
it's not.
Reagan was an outsider. They called him dumb. He's an actor. He's stupid, etc. But he went in and he turned things around quite a bit from a bad situation. But they called Reagan the Teflon president. Do you know that?
I did not know that.
So Teflon, at that time, you probably don't even have them now.
Yeah, no, I know Teflon.
Teflon, do you know?
Yeah.
So Teflon pots and pans?
They also use it on bullets, too.
Okay, probably. Because you would know about bullets here. Yeah, I'm in the sanctuary after all, so it's a learning curve for me, guys. But no, at that time it was like frying pans that had Teflon, so you could put the eggs in there without oil or butter, right? Non-stick.
Yep.
So they're saying this about Ronald Reagan, so... Trump's kind of like that, but he has a totally different style from Reagan, though. I mean, Trump's just. Reagan was he was the great communicator.
Yeah. He was an actor, so you know how to put on a good face.
Well, no, that wasn't it. He was very genuine. He came across as very genuine, but he was polished.
Yeah.
In his communication style. So he was the great communicator, and he had this kind of aw shucks style, and he'd tear up, and very, very nostalgic. Trump's not like that. Trump fights in the moment, I think it's brilliant because these guys have been spoiling for a fight for a long time, So go ahead and fight them.
Yeah.
But sometimes a fight is good. I mean, sometimes a fight within a family between, if you say Bannon and Trump, who knows what's going on behind the scenes? I mean, I think the King brought this up yesterday, maybe about maybe this is another chess move on Trump's part to throw out a smokescreen of Bannon in this book, and at the same time we talked about there being a presidential executive order going after pedophiles. You heard about that? We're actually under martial law. You heard about that?
I did not.
No? Well, the King talked about this yesterday. Apparently, Trump put out an executive order going after saying there's 13 people in the world who are disturbing the world order or a danger to the world order. And they were like, the 13 people were actually kind of obscure people, like few in Africa, China, wherever. And it was an executive order which effectively puts the United States under martial law. So we're actually under martial law now. So Trump is using the power of the office, It's a very powerful office, President of the United States. So that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just always kind of, you have to be cautious with that kind of using that, power,
Yeah.
Because whatever you do, the next president will say, oh, I can use this power too because, the previous. So the next president might not use it for the right reasons. So, for instance of this, they'll say, oh, these people are, kind of, danger or whatever. And then they'll go after, not necessarily bad people with that kind of power. So I mean, it's hard. You don't want to upset too many presidents for, like kind of expand the presidency power too much. You still want there to be balance between the three branches.
Right, okay.
So, I mean, I don't know much about it, but it's just, that's what comes to my mind. With just, kind of trying to limit the president's power because, Obama really kind of expanded the power of the presidency a lot during his, administration with all the executive orders.
Exactly.
So I just, that's my kind of drawback to that is just, I still want there to be the balance between the three branches.
Well, that's true. I mean, there's always that tension and balance of the, the three branches of government, right? And again, we have a written constitution in the U.S. Again, referring to England, which does not have a written constitution, but has the Magna Carta, which was, do you know the history little bit.
Wasn't it really? It's like 1500s or something.
1215.
1215.
1215.
Further than that.
So it was a bit further back than that. That's okay, Rio. You know, I don't expect you to know British history or European history. I only have sort of a cursory knowledge of it myself. But the Magna Carta in 1215 was when the lords, okay, with the property owners who owned big estates around the country, they went to the king and said, you know, we need to have certain rights in front of you. So they claimed their rights from the sovereign, from the king. And that was sort of the beginning of rights devolving down to the individual. Okay, so that was the beginning point, because up to that point you had the papacy. You still had the papacy at that time. There was no Protestant Reformation wasn't until 15. What was it? 1517.
I'm bad with dates.
And that was who?
Oh, Martin Luther.
Martin Luther, okay. And which country was that in?
I guess England.
It's in Germany.
Germany, okay.
So Martin Luther was a Catholic monk, okay, and he put the 93 Theses on the church at Wittenberg, criticizing the papacy. So we've seen this throughout history as the king constantly, every single day pretty much is ranting, you know. Hope he's taking care of his throat, you know, these days. But the danger of centralized power, the fact that centralized power with fallen human beings means it's satanic power. Yeah. Because we've not separated out Satan yet. So from the Magna Carta, then these rights have devolved, and then we finally had the American Revolution, which was an Abelside revolution. And right after that was the French Revolution, which was a Keyneside revolution leading to communism, democracy and communism. And those rights devolved to the individual. So now we have the Chonol-Guk Constitution. We have the Rod of Iron Ministry, we have the Chonol-Guk Constitution, which is the document that will usher in the kingdom of God. So how do we get on this topic?
We were talking about executive power.
Executive power, that's right, okay. So the problem in America, right, and the king was talking about the Constitution a lot recently as well, saying that the power of the king. Because like we had this discussion with Dan Johnson up there a few weeks ago, going through the Constitution. He's quite a bright young man, and he was impressed with the Constitution, but his question was, what about the power of the king? You have an absolute power there. The king has the power apparently to veto treaties. But so our king, Young Janim, our second king, has been talking about that, explaining the position of the king in the Chonol-Guk Constitution is a judicial position. He doesn't have absolute power. And also making the point that in the Chonol-Guk Constitution, there's only one position that's lifetime, and that's the king. In the American Constitution, you've got 9, the Supreme Court justices. And so you might say that that was a mistake in the American Constitution, because as you rightly pointed out, the balance of powers is what's at stake. And what we can see has happened, I would argue, with the left in the destruction of civil liberties is using the Supreme Court to make fiat laws. They become lawmakers, not interpreters of the law. I recall back in 1988, when I was involved in the political work that Father was doing at that time. I used to go to conferences in Washington now and then. And do you remember, you might not know this name, Robert Bork?
It sounds familiar, but...
He's a judge, Robert Bork. So he was what's called original intent interpretation of the Constitution. And he was a brilliant scholar, this guy, Robert Bork. And he was going to go onto the Supreme Court. And again, it was the same type of situation where you had 5 and 4, 5 and 4. It always seems to be that way. There's always like one vote swinging. And Ted Kennedy at that time was a senator from Massachusetts, you know, from my brilliant state. Ted Kennedy, champion of women. By the way, Mary Jo Kopechne's from Wilkes-Barre over here.
Oh, wow.
You ever hear of Mary Jo Kopechne?
Yeah. I forget the context.
Well, she was the one that died in Ted Kennedy's car.
Oh, okay.
Sadly, at Chappaquiddick. She's from Wilkes-Barre. So Ted Kennedy gets up and says, oh, we're going to defeat Robert Bork. And they actually politicized an appointment to the Supreme Court for the first time, the left. And they torpedoed the the appointment of Robert Bork, because up until that time it was considered that that an appointment of Supreme Court is a given. You know, it's not something that's political. It's not supposed to be politicized.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was kind of the beginning. I would say that victory that the left had to destroy Robert Bork, that's the beginning of what we have now. That was like 1988. So all this total politicization of everything, getting to the point of the Justice Department, the Obama, as you said, the expansion of executive orders, collusion with the Supreme Court, collusion with the leftist media. It's just come to a ridiculous apex now. But Rio, God is good. We're on the right side of history. We got a rod of iron, baby, to smite the nations. So we really, it's just, as we say in basketball, the ball is in our court. Thank you, everyone. Stay with us. We'll be back soon. Adieu.
Hi there, folks. And look at what I've got here today. My God, take a look at this. This is a BFR in 454 Casull with an octagonal barrel, magna porting, micarta grips. And look at that, it even has my initials on it, JM. Look at that thing of beauty, my God. Pop open the cartridge insertion door, and look at that cylinder spin. The finest revolvers in the world. Woo! That's a cannon. That's a cannon. Oh, man. Pretty accurate, though. Pretty much on target. Oh boy! Massive recoil.
Welcome back to King's Reports. Ted O'Grady with Rio Tashiro on behalf of the Second King of China, Hyung Jin Moon. And thought, Rio, we could just kind of go through the headlines and maybe pick one or two up along the way.
Yep.
So in Drudge, we talked a little bit about the book. So ancient Rome's sinful city at the bottom of the sea. Hospital kept surgeon on staff after accused of raping patients. Ooh, that's not very nice, is it?
Nope.
New York Times, private misgivings about Me Too. 4 women accuse Paul Haggis. Who's Paul Haggis? Broadway legend Ben Vereen, Sorry, Party or Not, Golden Globe. Man accused of sexing woman on a flight. Trans inmate seeks rare transfer. Act younger to feel younger.
Yeah.
Let's go to that.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like what you were saying before when we were talking about the training.
Yeah. That one popped out for me, so we'll look at act younger to feel younger. Okay, so here we are. This is from London. Be sillier for long, happy life. Study finds key to feeling younger is acting younger. It's hard to ignore tired feet and that constantly achy back as we get older, but a new study finds that a key to a long life of good health and always feeling younger, no matter our age, age is just a number, Rio, is to simply act younger from time to time. Researchers from HealthSpan, a supplier of vitamins and health supplements in the United Kingdom, polled 2,000 British adults on the effects of nostalgia and youthful behavior on mental and physical health. Nearly 3/4 of respondents indicated that occasionally forgetting you're an adult and tapping into a more immature mindset, be it watching old cartoons, pulling pranks on friends, or playing classic board games, was important for their health. Wow, that brings back a memory, you know. A few years ago, I used to watch SpongeBob on Saturday mornings with my son. You know, it was like a weekly thing. You know? And then I come over here, and again, Marshall, you know, who's our brother in training. Marshall's a SpongeBob fan.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah. He does voices really well. If you ever get the chance, ask him to do voices.
Yeah, he did. He did SpongeBob voices.
Okay.
Yeah, for me one time. He did SpongeBob and Patrick, Squidward.
Oh, nice.
And yeah. So, but this is interesting, isn't it? Isn't it, Rio? I mean, really, you know, we read the news. You know, the news. You know, stuff's going on all the time.
Yeah.
And of course, we're responsible. We are responsible, right? But also a big part of the kingdom, I think, is you know, health, health, giving joy to God. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like as we come into the kingdom, it's like we want things to be different in the kingdom of God. We don't want to just repeat the same old thing. It's like the king is saying recently. I'm sure you've been watching it. You know, the Christians they have a conflict right now. They're in difficulty because American evangelicals, he's talking about, who believe in freedom, who love the freedom that America gives, freedom of religion, the economic prosperity, et cetera, democracy, political freedom, all those things. But now their interpretation of the scriptures that Jesus is going to come and be like an authoritarian dictator.
Yeah.
Because they're taking the interpretation of the crucifixion, death, and resurrection of Jesus as the fundamental theology, not the kingdom, not the gospel of the kingdom. So they have like an irreconcilable conflict within themselves because, hey, it's a fearful thing if you think that the Lord is going to be an absolute authority and he's going to judge and smite the nations with the rule of iron. I mean, could you stand up to that? You know?
Yeah.
We've seen it, you know, we'd pretty much all be dead.
Yeah.
So really the blessing of the second king of true father's victory and the Eternal Good Constitution, now we have the political expression, the actual written expression of true father's victory as the Lord of the Second Advent through the second king, as the Eternal Good Constitution, which we haven't seen it practiced in reality. We don't have a sovereign territory as such, but through reading it and understanding it and the culture we're developing here in the sanctuary, it becomes evident that, hey, there is a lot of freedom here. Do you feel that?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I feel that. I mean, compared to being in the family Fed for 40 years, you know, you'd be very bored to hear my life story, you know? Compared to that, I mean, this is a blessing of the age. This is what God wanted to give us. And part of that is playfulness, staying young.
Yeah. And I really feel, it talked about it in the principle, vitality elements, how you deal with other people, not just, physically you feel younger, but, spiritually and, emotionally, how you deal with other people, what kind of influences you have in your life kind of makes you, like you could have a relatively young person who spiritually, they feel really old and they kind of feel, weary kind of, in their soul. But, as you deal with people in a good way, you have that good give and take. So not just physically, but, also emotionally and spiritually with your good give and take, with, good people and, kind of good influences. You can also, increase your kind of, youthfulness, I'll say, that way also. So not just, kind of the physical aspect, because, some people are limited, in what they can do physically, not just, in terms of age, but in terms of, the actual disabilities. So it's just, really kind of having good give and take, I feel like is a good kind of, practice, to kind of keep that youthful spirit and then being able to not just to have that youthful spirit and then through your give and take and action with other people, spread that kind of youthfulness, that kind of, levity and joyfulness everywhere.
That's true. Out of the mouth of babes. That's beautiful and rare. And that's absolutely true. And, to live in that, like I'm really looking forward to living in that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I am really looking forward to life, and the beauty of breaking ourselves, the beauty of denying ourselves is like you're saying to God and to Satan both. You're saying, hey, I'm going in this direction. I'm going to go with God. I'm going to deny this. And so that opens up a whole new world, And so I think that there's a lot of things we can do here, from this sanctuary. It's already happening that, with the culture we're developing here, the training that the King is giving, but also then we, we take that on board ourselves because each one of us also has, our individual gifts given by God. So you and your singing and SOS, and as we invest ourselves in those things, right?
Yeah.
Then, those things start to flourish. It's like the praise painting here. I notice when new guests walk in, they're always attracted to the praise painting. Do you know that?
Yeah.
And the other day on Wednesday when the two ministers came, the father and son came from Philly. Yeah, they were immediately attracted to that. And that's just one example of a beautiful expression of that, you know. So, yeah, that I think is it's a beautiful thing. And I recall Father, of course for us, the physical age difference between me and Father is 36 years, right? So it's like a big age gap, So I met Father when I was 20, right? And Father was 56, But Father was, like he was like a man at like his mid-30s. The Father's level of energy and health was always, younger.
Yeah.
And Father maintained that. You probably don't remember Father when he's 56 because you weren't even born then, right? But I remember when I first joined, right? Very young man, and I went to Belvedere, and it was just before the Yankee Stadium rally in June of 1976, and it was all young people, like my kind of age, because people were joining then. It was like, and it was exciting. It's like, we're going to save America, we're going to save America. We're going to save the world. Messiah's here. We're going to save it. We're doing it now. We're young. We can do anything. Yep. And I remember Father, I was kind of the back of the group, and Father was kind of away on the stage. And I remember Father was very brown-skinned, because Father had been out fishing, making conditions. Father always fished to make conditions before a big event. And Father started moving around, and he started talking about Yankee Stadium. And you know how Father used to play with language?
Yeah.
So Father starts talking about young key. Do you know this?
Nah, I never.
Young key. Looking at all the young people, said, the key to victory is young people, being young. And Father starts moving around like this. And man, I was so inspired to meet Father, guy said to the Queen the other night during the Bible study that Father is the one person in my life who saw me as I am from God's point of view. Not my physical parents, not my brothers and sisters, not even church leaders or church members, but Father. Father himself saw me, who I am, from God's point of view. And that was such a seminal experience. And everyone needs to have that experience with God. So the quick way to do it is through self-denial and playfulness. So I'm happy to see this story. It came out of London too, which is kind of fun. I mean, it does say, feeling younger, no matter our age, is simply to act younger from time to time. Right? 1 in 4 participants admitted they'd like to remain childlike for as long as possible. And half still felt cravings for childhood experience. I heard one of the accusations toward Trump is that he's like a child. He acts like a child. Well, he's staying young. Look at Trump. He's 70 years old. He's got a young, beautiful wife. He's 70 years old. I heard Trump works like 16, 18 hours. No one could keep up with him. Remember in the campaign?
Yeah, he was like everywhere.
So Hillary's complaining about, it's the Russia collusion, it's this or that. Yeah, poor Hillary, she could do like one rally in 3 days if she was lucky.
And she didn't even go to Michigan.
Trump did 6 rallies on the last day. 6 rallies on the last day, and he did the last one in Michigan. I think it was Michigan or Wisconsin. Was it in Detroit? At 1 a.m. The one
I think so.
I think it was in Michigan. So he did 6 rallies, man. I mean, to me, the King said this. The King said this recently as well, that Trump kind of reminds him of Father. And I remember, feeling and thinking the same thing about Trump, just his manner and demeanor. I think Father's working with Trump. The fact that Father could always relate with everybody. I mean, Father, like the experience I just related with you, right? He's just like, it was such an electric shock to my soul. So inspiring. And you feel like, hey, we can take on the world. Hey, we can take on the world. No problem. Come what may. Bring it on. Bring it on. And we got a little bit of that spirit here in the sanctuary. A little bit of it percolating. And, it's exciting to see young guys coming into that. So that's awesome. I appreciate that. So childlike behavior. Yeah. Stay young.
Yep.
Okay.
And in terms of the health thing that you were talking about before, everyone's always, telling you to, because like you were saying, it's hard to, once you hit a certain age to kind of, to start it,
Right.
So really at a younger age, it's all about upkeep. So that's what I try to focus on, at my age, is just kind of maintaining, your kind of a healthy, lifestyle. I mean, I'm not super healthy. I don't eat super healthy, but I try to, be active.
Yeah.
I mean, I go to training, 2 times a week, and I try to, do some, physical labor every now and then, just kind of keep that, don't just sit in, I mean, my work is sit in front of a computer screen all day. So, I try to, counteract that by, trying to be a little active, play outside with my dog or, whatever the case may be. But, everyone's always telling me, like, I know I have, there's members here who are like in their 30s and, they're starting to feel that kind of change, in their physical bodies. So they're like, they're saying,
Okay.
They're saying, upkeep your body, upkeep your health while you're, still young. So just want to, kind of shout out to all the younger people, just kind of start now and then keep it. And then you'll be able to do so much more, physically later on.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, Leo. And it's great. It's great that we have an opportunity to do this here in Pennsylvania. That God chose this territory for us, because the kingdom needs territory. You know that. I was a pioneer missionary in Brazil when Father did the Jardim project there. And I always say that this, to me, is a parallel providence to that. It's in the same line because true Father desperately wanted to establish God's nation before he went to spiritual world. Father wanted to do as much as he possibly could. So Father started pioneering Brazil at the age of 74. When Father pioneers, it's really pioneering. Father pioneered, up at 2 a.m, up at 3 a.m. Father would go fishing in the Pantanal in the summertime under the hot sun all day. And, you know, that's like on the flip, that's like the opposite side of where we are now. Like now we have dangerous cold. That's like dangerous heat.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But, you know, Father's 74 years old doing that. Father enjoyed doing that. Father went out and dug holes and laid bricks, and Father went to the workers. I mean, they came and worked to build the buildings there because it was a totally pioneer situation. So that is Father's tradition. And we have no excuses. If Father at 74 can go out and pioneer, in Brazil, a foreign country that speaks a foreign language, right? Pushing himself and enjoying the process. You know, what excuse do we have? Me or any of the older guys?
Yeah.
Hey, there's no retirement is what retires, putting on new tires, right? But that's a joyful life, real. That's joyful, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And especially when you have, you know, family that's also, you know, like your son came to training.
Yeah.
So it's like when you can share it with your, you know, family, I feel like that's also, so once you have, you know, once your kids grow up to a certain age, you know, you can work with them, you know, not just for them necessarily, but you can work with them towards a shared goal. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's also in line with the three generations, the three vertical generations living together. So that expands out into the whole culture. So, yeah, for me, that was a beautiful experience for you. I never had that experience with my son. That was a skin touch type experience. You know, I'm choking out my son. He's choking me out. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, you know. So I'm so happy about that, you know. So, yeah, I always tell people, Ted, how old are you? I'm 26 on my next birthday. I'm just slightly dyslexic. But, you know, like you say, you know, age is a number, right? The Bible says that one day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as one day. So, you know, we're in this time continuum, but through the Spirit and through health maintenance, like you're saying, through our attitude and our lifestyle, hey, we're designed to live healthily for 100 years.
Yeah.
So, man, I'm looking forward to pioneering this place. I mean, there's so much we can do as far as building kingdom culture. There's all the lakes here.
Yeah.
There's hunting. I mean, I'm looking forward into, you know, spending less money, owning land, building a house. You know, my goal is to buy land and build my own house, physically build it. I mean, I did this in Brazil. You know, I want to do it again here. You know, and you can work with, we have people in the community that know how to do stuff. You know, we got Lowell and people that have, you know, the equipment you need to dig holes and trenches and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, because around here there's so many rocks.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yep.
I mean, the place is built on flint, whatever. So, you know, if you try to build a foundation for a house, you know, by hand, I imagine, you know, that'd be quite tough. But if you get Lowell to come along with his backhoe, hey, you're done. And that to me is really with the joy of building the kingdom, because beyond this fight we're in now is kingdom building.
Yeah.
All right, and that's having territory, and that's where our, like you say, integrated lifestyle comes in. Being youthful, paying attention to the community, paying attention to the political situation. Yesterday there was Lois Kanicki was on the King's Report. She's you know, awesome firecracker who does the local political organizing. She's a great person, you know. Getting involved in that, the churches. You know, business, building our businesses, getting involved in hunting, fishing. And that's Father's lifestyle. I remember when we were pioneer missionaries in Brazil, Father had a meeting with us once, and we were all UTS graduates, you know. So we had the privilege of going to Brazil. You know, Father called us at the end because, you know, he kept calling people that didn't want to go. I said, hey, I'll go. I'm happy to go to be with Father. So Father, you know, made us his own disciples, and he spoke to us, and Father was speaking to us one time about missionary work, and Father held up both of his hands like this and said, you got to use 10 fingers in your mission, 10 fingers. So what was Father saying? He's saying, don't just be narrow-minded and single-minded. Don't just follow your central figure. Don't just be like bound up in your head. Look around at your environment. Dominate your environment. You know, use 10 fingers. And that was a beautiful experience, you know. It's beautiful, but what really didn't really have the opportunity to build the kingdom as I wanted to. I remember I had a prayer. I'll share this with everybody, you know, before we go to break. But I had been there a couple of years, and Father would come and give these speeches in the temple we built. So people started coming from around the world. And I had 2 days. I had like an internal struggle this 2 days. Father spoke the first day, and I was like this. And then the second day, Father spoke. And I had a prayer that night. I don't normally have prayers like this. You know, I'm more of an activist type person, right? But I prayed to God under the mango tree in Jardim, God, if you can please work a miracle. Father is 80 years old, right? I'm 44 years old. Father's 80 years old. And I'm saying, Father, if you could please work a miracle and turn Father 40 years old overnight, then I'll promise you, if you do that, God, that I will work with Father for the rest of my life here in Brazil, here in Jardim, to build your sovereignty, to build your kingdom right here on earth together on a daily basis with Father. Can you do that for me, God? And so, unfortunately, God couldn't do that physically, and that providence sadly ended, you know, and we ended up just being there for a little while, and it just did not really go forward too much from that point. But I made that prayer, right? Never thinking that God would ever answer that prayer, right? But then like a couple of years ago, I'm looking at YouTube and seeing this funny, you know, Hyung Moon out there, you know, making pine needle tea out there in the mountain here in Pennsylvania, saying, "Oh, that's Father's son. Oh, he's the one that Father appointed to be the inheritor. He's out there in Pennsylvania. I heard something happened. He's not leader anymore." See, I wasn't really paying so much attention to it, right? But then I met the second king, and God answered that prayer. Actually, not quite 40 years old.
Yeah.
So God is faithful, Rio. Amazing how God is faithful.
Yep.
You know, if we're patient, we trust God. So now I have to keep my part of the bargain, you see. So what was my part of the bargain, Rio?
Building the kingdom.
And what did I promise to God? I said, if you turn Father 40, then what am I going to do?
Work to build the kingdom for the rest of your life.
Yeah, on a daily basis. Till the day I die. So, hey, God answered the prayer. Now I've got responsibility, right, to fulfill my part.
Yep.
So that's a miracle, you know. And that's a joyful thing. So, you know, we're in a position now where we are youthful. We're all youthful. And, you know, we're now moving into the kingdom. We're building the kingdom.
Yep.
And especially young people, the way the king is training you, your attitude and your demeanor, everything is really great. And the king keeps you humble.
Yeah.
On a weekly basis. So
yep. I'm grateful to have the experience, you know, of being able to train. It's really, I mean, because, you know, my generation, you know, we didn't have so much kind of, you know, contact with Father. Right. But, you know, through, you know, dealing with the, you know, training with the second king, you know, we kind of have that connection, you know, through the three kingships. We have that connection to Father, you know.
Yeah.
And then we can build a relationship kind of through with Father through, you know, the second king.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you feel that the elder people like myself, do you feel that we're a benefit to the community or a drag on the community?
No, definitely a benefit.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can be honest.
No, yeah, definitely a benefit. I mean, you know, you worked, you know, really hard, you know, setting up kind of the providence, you know, working with True Father, and you know, all the missionary work and whatever the mission you had at the time. Kind of, you know, set the spiritual condition, I feel. I mean, for the second gen, you know, for kind of the blessing, you know, you guys set the condition so that, you know, we could stand as, you know, second gen. We have this, you know, this kind of inherent, you know, I guess I'll say value.
Sure.
But because of what you guys did and what Father did. And so it already, you know, we have that to stand on. So without, you know, the first generation's work, you know, and not just, you know, what you guys did, but what you continue to do, you know, teaching. Yeah. I mean, you know, Hyung can't teach everyone everything, you know. We have to find other teachers. Yeah. And, you know, there's so many, you know, skilled and, you know, knowledgeable people, you know, in the first generation. Like, you know, you can learn a lot, you know, from listening to, like, the Ellensons or Doug or, you know, all these people that have so much experience, you know. Or if you're, you know, you can learn about fundraising or missionary work, you know, from all the first gen because they, you know, have so much experience. So I really feel, you know, the first generation's experience, you know, offers so much kind of guidance to, you know, my generation.
Yeah. It's great to hear that, Rio. You know, it's nice to hear that. And from my side, I tell you, what's really inspiring for me is seeing the young people get blessed recently. You know, there was Gideon.
Yep.
And I think he was first recently, and then Kyle and Diella.
Yep.
And then Marshall and Christina.
Yep.
And what's different from your blessing than ours? See, we were marching in the field, and most of us we went to a big room, and Father matched us. You know, only Father could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, Father could actually do that. You know, and to get a group of people who would accept that, you know, is also the result of our first gen, our training, and all that. So, but we didn't. So, you know, we kind of accepted the match, and then went back to our mission fields for another couple of years, and got together and started our families, right? But what's nice to see with you guys is how you kind of going through this internal process before you get married. You know, I was just listening to the testimonies on the King's Report of you know, the couples, and in every instance, like what I find impressive is how mature, in a way, that the couples are, because they had to question before being married, and they've all gone through this decision process, saying that, okay, we're gonna go for this, like Marshall's testimony or Kyle's testimony, Diala's testimony, Christina's testimony. And that's a beautiful thing. That I think is really important. You know, I wish if I were to look back on my marriage or my blessing, our lifestyle, I think that if we had more of that in the first gen, if we had just been a little patient with ourselves and given ourselves a bit more time, you know, to make sure about things in an engagement period, or to spend a little time together after we were matched, rather than just, you know, going right out to the front line again. And make a huge difference really later on. Because without going through that really, and then just going to the step of, you can't really go to the step of marriage without going through that questioning, without making a decision. Like, you have to reach a point internally, I think, where you decide, yes, not just because I believe in it, or because I believe in Father, or because I believe in God, but because you yourself have gone through this internal process and have made that conscious decision as a free moral agent that I'm doing this because I want to do it, and because I want to be married, and I'm going to take full responsibility as being married. So, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, and also that goes back to what we were talking about before. You know, Hyung always talking about, you know, the parents need to be involved, and, you know, True Father said this too.
Right.
That, you know, when you're matching, you know, because you're matching two families,
right? So,
you know, the parents need to be involved in the matching, you know, and then through that they can, you know, offer guidance and their experience, and you know, they understand, they hopefully understand, you know what's good for you, and, you know, what kind of situation would be best for you, and so they can, you know, guide you towards that. So I know, for, you know, like you were saying, all the younger people here, you know, their parents were, you know, very involved in their matching process, and that's really you know, kind of the ideal, I would say, is, you know, through the, you know, child and the parents coming together, you know, they can really create, you know, kind of that foundation for a stronger, you know, kind of matching and blessing process, and in the end, a stronger marriage.
Yeah, that's very inspiring, really. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. So, there's a lot of hope going forward in the kingdom, I think. Yeah. Beyond fighting the devils. But, you know, I just want to kill these devils quick so we can build.
Yeah.
That's great. I just think we can take a break now.
Yep.
And stay with us. We'll be back in a minute or two.
Boy, wasn't that fun shooting this Tommy gun today?
It's always fun shooting Tommy guns. This one especially. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
All polished and chromed up. It really looks like $1,000,000.
Yeah, yeah. Elliot Ness would have loved one of those.
Yeah, and it's available right now in your favorite dealer, and you go pick one up.
Yeah, just have him call your distributor.
I mean, the gun, you know, was initially made way back when, back in the 27 is this one.
Yeah, Model 27.
I was surprised by how quick it knocked down those plates.
Oh, 3.5 second run, under 3.5 second run, knocking down a plate right. 341.
I mean, the gun is heavy. It's about what, 12, 14 pounds, especially with this drum. But it's surprising how quick you can go with it. It would actually make quite a good self-defense rifle at home.
If I climbed in somebody's window and they were aiming that at me, I think I'd get out of there real quick. So
that sounds about right to me.
Just the intimidation factor alone.
Fire!
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today. Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
Boy, wasn't that fun shooting this Tommy gun today?
It's always fun shooting Tommy guns. This one especially. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
All polished and chromed up. It really looks like $1,000,000.
Yeah, yeah. Elliot Ness would have loved one of those.
Yeah, and it's available right now in your favorite dealer, and you go pick one up.
Yeah, just have him call your distributor.
I mean, the gun, you know, was initially made way back when, back in the 27 is this one.
Yeah, Model 27.
I was surprised by how quick it knocked down those plates.
Oh, 3.5 second run, under 3.5 second run, knocking down a plate right. 341.
I mean, the gun is heavy. It's about what, 12, 14 pounds, especially with this drum, but it's surprising how quick you can go with it. It would actually make quite a good self-defense rifle at home.
If I climbed in somebody's window and they were aiming that at me, I think I'd get out of there real quick. So
that sounds about right to me.
Just the intimidation factor alone.
Fire!
Welcome back to the King's Report. This is Ted O'Grady with Rio Toshiro. We're here on behalf of the Second King's Channel Goat Young Jin Moon. And Rio, we're just going to take a little look at the Clintons. Again, it's kind of hard to go through King's Report without mentioning the Clintons, isn't it?
Yes.
Won't it be a happy day when we don't have to talk about the Clintons anymore?
That would be a good day.
Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day when Jesus washed. Come on. When Jesus washed, when Jesus washed, when Jesus washed, when Jesus washed, he washed my sins away. Oh, happy day, oh, happy day, when Jesus washed the Clintons away. When Jesus washed the Clintons away. When Jesus washed
the Clintons
away. When Jesus washed, when Jesus washed. When Jesus washed, he washed my sins away. Ah, Jew.
Jew.
Wow, where did that come from?
I don't know.
The Spirit, eh?
Yep.
So listen, I'd like to look at this InfoWars video for a minute or two. And this is entitled Bannon Treachery is designed to cover up new criminal investigation of Hillary Clinton by the DOJ.
The FBI previously investigated and declined to criminally prosecute Hillary Clinton for her use of the email server. We now learn that Comey had given her a letter months before saying the investigation's over. We're going to stage the interview. It's fake. We are back live broadcasting worldwide, and the entire Bannon betrayal has been sitting and waiting for months, crafted by Deep State, crafted by this Democrat henchman reporter known for BuzzFeed-like fiction pieces, Mr. Wolf, the wolf in the hen house. This whole thing has been tailored and prepared for when the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Chuck Grassley, came out and said Comey committed crimes. Comey did criminally leak. He lied to Congress and said he didn't. Later, he admitted he did. We have a Clinton crime network inside the FBI. The FBI coterie of Clinton underlings has been covering up crimes for decades and persecuting and prosecuting innocent people to try to have a soft coup against the American people's move to put an American restorationist or populist back in the White House. And if Trump's anything, he's a populist people's president delivering with classic policies that empower the people. And it's breaking on Infowars.com. We have the articles. We have the breakdowns of this. Justice Department from the Washington Examiner reopens Hillary Clinton email investigation. We knew that was coming. Criminal investigation reopened. The FBI previously investigated and declined to criminally prosecute Hillary Clinton for her use of the email server. We now learn that Comey had given her a letter months before saying the investigation's over. We're going to stage the interview. It's fake. Everything's okay. And not under oath. And then they sent over the very FBI agents involved at the Bureau with the PP dossier. All of them. Struck and all of them. The current weasel that's retiring, McCabe, all of it. The Department of Justice has caved to pressure from the White House and is reportedly reopening the investigation into former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server that was totally illegal. And it goes on from there. So that's what all of this is about. Trump is insane. Trump's a racist. Trump does this. Trump does that. Because you've got U.S. private sector added 250,000 jobs, 250,000 jobs in December alone, way above estimates. Job cut announcements, the lowest since 1990. New business startups, the highest since 1984. Trump's about to make a big push against all the welfare queens that doubled under Obama, doubled to 100 million people on welfare and food stamps. To scale back welfare programs has the Republicans on edge. That's just some of what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what's got them so incredibly panicked. But back to Bannon saying the president never wanted to win, it's all fake, on and on, all these classic Democrat Party lies he put out. But then when he talks to his constituents on Breitbart Radio, I love him, he doesn't deny he made the quotes that we now know are recorded. He doesn't deny any of it. He doesn't deny the leaking. It's just, oh, but I'm going to run now. He's not going to make it. He's not going to make it. He's a fake. He's everything. But to the Breitbart audience, I love you. I love you. Imagine if I was in the New York Times. I hate the president. He's fake. He's a piece of crap. I was there. He gave money to the Russians. All this other stuff. Meanwhile, to you, I love you, America. I mean, I would expect to be tarred and feathered. Here's the thing. I don't get treachery. Scum and weirdos and lesser men, they always think it's cool to be treacherous. But don't worry, I'm vindictive. And I know the Lord says vengeance is his, and I understand that's God's prerogative. But I tend to think God works vengeance through men, doesn't he? Men that are willing to do whatever it takes. Okay. So I've asked to be that vessel if and when God ever chooses for whatever purposes. Because I am sick of scum. I am sick of liars. I'm sick of betrayers, and I'm sick of how these wimpy... You know one thing, people that are real dirty and floppy and have dandruff all over them and don't care how they look or whatever, that always lets you know they're so self-centered they don't even want to look good for you. And they don't even respect themselves, so they don't respect you. And that's Stephen Bannon, a big, dirty, fly-covered creature just like Hillary and Obama. He's a pile of feces.
Okay. So there we go. We can interject now, Leo?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it seems like all this, it's coming out at an opportune time for the Clintons to kind of shift the focus. And also, it seems like there's an article in The Hill.
Okay.
FBI launches new Clinton Foundation investigation. So it seems like they're not just investigating the email scandal, but also, the Clinton Foundation, which is probably one of the most corrupt kind of organizations, Just talk to the people of Haiti,
Yeah, exactly. I heard there was a fire in the Clinton home this
week.
I
heard about it. Are there any
details on
I don't know if they've come out with details as to why, but it seems like there's a lot of stuff going on.
Happened?
There's a lot of stuff going on with the Clintons right now, but of course all the focus is on, what Trump is saying, what Trump tweeted. You won't see this kind of story covered in the mainstream because. No. They can't say anything bad about the Clintons.
Well, we know the mainstream is fake news, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it always seems like the timing is amazingly coordinated, and everything. And I mean, I can recall in years past, you would just think nothing of it. It was a coincidence. People didn't think anything of it, really. I thought people like Alex Jones were just conspiracy theorists. Just nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, we get that accusation sometimes still, like conspiracy theorists. But actually, time and time again, the same kind of thing happens where you have these timing incidents which benefit a certain party. I'm just wondering how many lives the Clintons have, Do they have more than 9 lives?
I don't know.
I mean, do you think they're going to be able to get out of this one? Have those indictments actually come out yet? With the DOJ, have they actually opened a case? Or they
The
have special-
Justice Department has launched a new inquiry into whether the Clinton Foundation engaged in
An
pay-to-play
inquiry.
politics or other illegal activities while Hillary Clinton served as Secretary of State.
Mhm.
Law enforcement officials and a witness tells the Hill. So there's an inquiry.
Mhm.
So it might turn into a full-on investigation.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They might just come out and say, "Oh yeah, she did it, but we can't prosecute like they did before."
Well, the thing is, you got Department of Justice with Jeff Sessions, and a lot of questions around Jeff Sessions, aren't there? I mean, he recused himself from the Flynn investigation, allowed the special Mueller to be appointed as special prosecutor with, I think it's Rosenstein, the Obama holdover as deputy. But I think it just points out that we ourselves have to remain on point, because Trump's on point. Whenever Trump speaks directly to the people, he's on point. Trump never is wavering, and like Alex Jones just pointed out here, the actual successes of the Trump administration, the economy in particular, that's growing, the rollback of the welfare state. But this Bannon thing it's a bit unusual because we would have thought that Bannon was an ally of the president, but as it turns out, he is a traitor to the president, or is it a smokescreen?
Yeah.
Apparently, Bannon was a source of leaking out of the White House.
I guess so, since he's not denying the claims.
But then what Alex is saying here is that this was already ready to go months ago, and they just waited, they meaning the mainstream media, or a coordinated way to cover up or to benefit Hillary Clinton once again. So just as we were singing earlier, Rio,
Yeah.
happy day when the Clintons go away.
Yep,
I
definitely.
was saying to you in the break, back when Clinton got elected, when Reagan got elected, Father went to Danbury during that time. You know that, right? Yeah. So there was a failure at that time. There was an opportunity for Father to be embraced by Reagan. So if that had happened, if the Providence had gone well, and if Reagan had supported Father, pardoned Father for that ridiculous court case that sent him to jail. Do you know the details of that case at all?
Yeah, it was like they got him on like tax evasion.
Do you know how much it was?
Like 6,000 or 7,000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what the actual issue was?
I don't know what the
3 years. I say
cause
so.
was.
Father basically, Japanese missionaries came to America and brought $3 million or something, and they put it in a bank account in Father's name as a custodian for that money to use for the mission. Just $3 million. Okay, and so Father, being a religious leader, did not file taxes for 3 years on the interest on those accounts, which was a total of $7,000 over 3 years. So it's like less than it's like $2,400 a year.
Yeah.
And this is for the man that's investing millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in the Washington Times and everything else. So even by the Justice Department's rules at that time, there wasn't enough money involved to warrant a prosecution. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So this guy wrote a book called Inquisition, a reporter defending Father, calling it an inquisition. But because of the political ramifications or whatever, Father was railroaded into a trial by judge. They got a conviction, and then Father ends up going to jail for just an absurd railroad job, really. So it just points out that what the state can do. But the idea was that if Father could have been embraced if Reagan could embrace Father at that time, then we wouldn't have had Clinton. Clinton never would have come into the picture because Reagan went on for a second term, but Father went to jail from 84 to 85. And then the providence really shifted at that time to a more of I would say, an indirect providence, where we started, kind of what we ended up doing, VIPs. So we're treating everyone like VIPs, but we ourselves aren't really taking the lead as we should to build the kingdom. So we've had to suffer with Clinton. When he got elected, I was mentioning to you, in the 92 election, there was a third candidate called Ross Perot from Texas who apparently had bad blood with George Bush Sr. And he came in and got like 19% of the popular vote and split the vote with George Bush. So then Clinton won. And so there, hey, we got the Clintons, and you can't get rid of the Clintons. I mean, when are we going to get rid of these Clintons? I mean, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. They just don't easily go away. I mean, does she want to run for president again? Is that the edge? Probably.
I mean, she wants to. I don't know if the Democratic Party wants her.
Who knows?
There's only so many times you can. Put your eggs in the losing basket.
They've got so many lives.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it's a little confusing. I mean, when you see this situation, of course, this was the Roy Moore situation in Alabama, where with Luther Strange and then Trump, seeming to flip-flop, supporting the neocons and supporting the libertarians. And so this thing with Bannon, it is a bit concerning in a way, like this blow-up between the head of the libertarian side and Trump. So I think there's more to be told about this. Of course, the book though apparently is full of contradictions and lies.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just they're giving it too much credit.
Yeah.
So it's just I feel like that's probably they probably put it out now because to shift the focus, like Alex Jones was saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Trump shouldn't put the focus on it. Trump's giving them what they want. He should be tweeting about Hillary Clinton, she's going to go to jail. He should deliver on that promise. That was a big campaign promise. So I think that should be his focus, not so much, this kind of random, just work of fiction, probably. I would classify it as fiction. I mean, the author seems to classify it as fiction. So I would put it fiction section in the library.
He himself classified it as fiction.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, it should be on Trump to shift that focus. The focus... They're like Alex Jones was saying, they're putting this out to shift the focus. So it's on to Trump to, say, oh, I'm going to deliver on my campaign promise. Hillary Clinton's going to jail. We're opening up the investigation into her emails and opening up the investigation into her corrupt Hillary Clinton Foundation. And so I feel like, that's kind of a bad play.
Yeah.
Just, he's kind of walking into what they want. And I don't think that should necessarily. I mean, but it could have been like you were saying, like you were saying, the King said that it could be a smokescreen on Trump's part to divert attention away from him going after those 13
pedophiles.
people you said, 13.
Yeah, those executive. We're under martial law.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's about Trump. He's one of those guys where you underestimate him at your peril. It seems, So, but they're accusing him of being dumb, can't read.
Yeah. Actually, that was one of the things in the book.
Yeah.
It's probably a lie, but they were saying that people were leaking that Trump doesn't read anything. He just signs whatever's put in front of him. He doesn't actually read anything. He likes one-page reports. He doesn't like long reports, and that's what they were saying in the book. I mean, it's probably I mean, he ran a business, so I'm sure he can read through reports just fine. So. It just seems like there shouldn't be any focus on this. It seems like it's kind of being propped up to be this big thing, just like you said, like Alex Jones was saying, to cover up. So I feel like on our side we shouldn't put too much focus on it. It's like just file it away under fiction and move on.
Yeah, but that probably is really good advice for you on that one, But the thing is about Trump, he is a successful business leader, so he is. To get a summary report of one page is
that was my thoughts. Like you have so many different aspects you need to control, and so just streamline the process. If the report can come in one page, it doesn't need to have all the flowery extras in 6 pages or whatever, 10 pages. So I mean, if it's just kind of that kind of filter that people want to see Trump through, they're like. They see, oh, he doesn't want to read long reports, means he's too stupid to handle it or something, or he's like too lazy. But if someone like Obama did that, they say, oh, how efficient, he's like, oh, making everyone, put in reports that are shorter and that so he can use his time more effectively, and then kind of get a better idea of what the general kind of report is instead of, getting lost in, pages and pages. And so you just, the people are, you know, they like to see that through those filter. You know, everything the Donald Trump does, if someone else did it, you know, they would view it as, oh, this is the greatest thing. Like, you know, you see all these videos of people going up to people like on campuses and saying, oh, this is what Bernie Sanders, you know, this is his tax plan, you know, but it's actually, you know, Donald Trump's tax plan.
You like Bernie Sanders then? Yeah.
No, I'm just, I find it fascinating that Bernie Sanders even exists in the political, you know, that there's such a demand for socialism in this country that Bernie Sanders can even exist. So I find it, you know, interesting, like an interesting study.
Well, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's important really to see how that phenomenon came about. But I mean, part of this has to do with the strategy of impeachment. You know, as King brought out as well, the 25th Amendment, which says non compos mentis. So if the president is either insane or stupid, then it's grounds for impeachment. But they did this with Reagan. You know, Reagan was stupid. He was dumb. He couldn't read. He didn't know what he was doing. Later on, he had dementia. It's the same playbook, really, they're trying to do to Trump. But how about we on the macro? I mean, here we are on the macro, right? We have this huge breakthrough with the gun owners of America with Mr. Larry Pratt. And you probably heard about the event that we're putting together on the 24th of February with the Thank Trump, Thank You President Trump, sponsored by the Gun Owners of America, for the benefit of the Gun Owners of America, sponsored by Car Arms and others that we're putting on. So already I heard that, you know, we've got positive responses on that. And, you know, it's kind of the responsibility of the micro to keep the macro on point as well, you know, so that's something that we here need to be conscious of all the time. Don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you mean you go through, you know, you come to Sunday service, you know, go to training or whatever, and you think, oh, this is just, you know, another day. But, you know, all the actions, you know, the decisions you make, you know, like you said, the micro affects the macro. So all our actions and decisions, you know, that we make in relation, you know, with each other and with the second king and the providence and the kingdom, you know, all those decisions and actions we make, you know, they have an effect, you know, on the macro scale. So we really need to focus on ourselves, I feel, and really kind of strive to kind of bring it about in our own lives, and then through bringing the kingdom in our own lives, you know, we can expand that to the macro.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, thank you for that, Rio. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back in a minute or two. Stay with us.
25 minutes.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group, with a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood, the history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group, made in the USA. Visit car.com today. Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group, with a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood, the history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Carr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit carr.com today.
Welcome back to the King's Report. This is Ted O'Grady with Rio Toshiro, here on behalf of the Second King of Chunilguk, Hyung Jin Moon. And we'd like to move to the Middle East, Rio. Not that we'd like to, but we're going to move to the Middle East. What's happening in Iran? So looking at this Breitbart article, the State Department announced on Thursday that Iran's Islamic regime has arrested at least 1,000 Iranians since protests began, and announced that it will hold an emergency meeting to discuss the uprising and how to provide support for the people. And, quote, we condemn the deaths to date and the arrests of at least 1,000 Iranians by the Iranian regime during this week's protests, and called on the United Nations Security Council to speak out in support of the Iranian people. State Department spokesperson Heather Nauert wrote, tomorrow, the UN Security Council will hold an emergency meeting on Iran. Also on Thursday, Nauert said in a press release, we have ample authorities to hold accountable those who commit violence against protesters, contribute to censorship, or steal from the people of Iran. According to Amnesty International, hundreds of detained Iranians are being held in the notorious Evin prison's quarantine section, an area that has the capacity to hold a maximum of 180 people. This week, Musa Ghazafarabadi, the head of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, warned that the arrested protesters could face the death penalty, specifically that they would face charges including muharebe, which in Farsi means waging war against God and the state. It is punishable by death. The Arabic version of muharebe is hirabah. So really we have people there in Iran that have had enough.
Yep.
And somehow the the cry for freedom within the human heart cannot be repressed ultimately. And so these people, these 1,000 people, are facing death.
Yeah. Yeah, what really interests me is what's going to be like the kind of results, of this. Is there going to be a change in the government? Because right now, it's a very theocratic government, the religion rules in Iran. So, and I really, as in terms of, kind of sovereignty, it would be nice to see, kind of a more the people gain more sovereignty, there's, opening for freedom of, more freedom of speech, freedom of religion, all the different kind of freedoms that we, take for granted here in America, that hopefully, some of those freedoms through this kind of, unrest over there, they can kind of be released. But also what worries me is kind of relations with Russia, because Russia really backs Iran.
Do they?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
And so it's kind of worrying to see how this could affect kind of global relations on a whole, in terms of what the outcome will be. Because whenever you have, because this is how Iran used to be a very kind of progressive nation, and then through a lot of protests they had a complete change, and they had a lot of riots, and then through that like kind of upheaval they brought about the the government they have today. And so it looks like there's the potential for another change.
Yeah. The thing is, in the Middle East is always so complicated, and there's such an ancient history there. And it's all complicated by Islam and the religions there, Judaism and Christianity, all mixed up. And if you look in the Old Testament, where the lineages started from Abraham, and you had Hagar, the handmaiden of Abraham, who spawned the Arab race. And then they're just, as the king points out within Islam, what we've discovered about Islam recently is you know, how you mentioned the other day how the men have free sex in Islam, not for women.
Yeah.
But men can do apparently whatever they want. So, I mean, in the UK, Sharia law is tacitly allowed in the UK. I know that for a fact because I spoke with a brother over there who's, you know, who knows about. He's a British brother who kind of knows the situation over there, and he was saying, yeah, from because of their history having so many colonies, they learned how to like stabilize or work with those colonies so they could dominate them. And part of that was to kind of allow them to keep their own traditions and cultures.
Yeah.
So the problem with Islam, they come over to the UK, where on the surface it's a Christian-based law or whatever. They have what's called common law. They do not have a written constitution, which is a weakness. But so they basically allow Sharia law. There are 36 plus Sharia courts, which is why guys like Tommy Robinson and British patriots are trying to point this out and fight against this. And their reward for that is getting thrown into jail.
Yeah.
All right. And with hate speech, you heard about the hate speech thing in Germany.
Yeah.
So what they do as part of their strategy is reproduce. They just reproduce. So I heard that in Britain there's Arabic websites that are recruiting, you know, multiple women to marriage. So if you marry 3 or 4 women, then you're going to have like 10, 12, 15 children. And they're all going to be indoctrinated in Islam, these big mosques over there, and paid for by the state. So I remember my brother-in-law, who's my wife's British. You know, my brother-in-law was a British military officer, high-ranking military officer, and he was saying years ago, like more than 10 years ago, he was just so pessimistic. You know, he was just saying, "Oh, Britain's done. We're done. Britain's done. Demographic suicide," is what he said. And you know, apparently he was right. I don't think Britain's completely done. I think there's still a chance. The King's going to Europe. Going to Lausanne. I spoke with some of the British Sanctuary Brothers. I spoke with Jacob Mingala, my brother from East London. Apparently they have a group of sanctuarians going to Switzerland, inviting people. I don't know if Tommy Robinson's going to... I think they've met Tommy Robinson yet. I'm hoping and praying for that. I think that'd be a great friendship, Tommy Robinson and the King. Oh, I would dream for that. But the point here in Iran... you know, it's an ancient civilization, Persia, and the Shah of Iran. I think this came up earlier this week as well. I think Tim might have brought that up on Wednesday. The Shah of Iran had created a prosperous country with some kind of democratic institutions. He was a monarch, but he somehow couldn't maintain it or was compromised in some way, which allowed... the radical mullahs to have a revolution in Iran. That's been going on since before Reagan came in, around 1980. Because Reagan came in, there was a hostage crisis when he was
1978,
elected.
I think.
Yeah, 78. So when Reagan was elected, this is one reason why Jimmy Carter lost to Reagan, because everyone thought he was a wimp. He couldn't deal with Iran. And there were 44 hostages or something in Iran at the time. And then Reagan got elected, and right away they got released. So that was like a big change. How did that happen?
Yeah.
But this points out to me that you know, Iranian people are highly intelligent people as a whole. I mean, we have many Iranian members in the Unification Church. You know, I know a couple personally. You know, and they are high level. They're intelligent people. You know, they're not dumb people. They're professionals, doctors, lawyers. You know. And it always kind of surprised me, like how, or a question in my mind, how has this Islamic revolution persisted in Iran? You know, and why do they want to continue fighting against Iraq? You know, so Trump brought this up. I mean, Trump being the pragmatist, you know, and knowing how to negotiate, is saying, you know, remember in the campaign, he said, they always do like this. They fight, and they fight, and they fight, and they fight. And they fight. It's a stalemate on the Iran-Iraq border because they have Shiites and Sunnis, right? And Wahhabis. So this is all the result of miscegenation. Do you know that word, miscegenation? Miscegenation.
Does that have like misogyny? Is that the same root?
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like bloodlines going everywhere. It's kind of like, you know, And that's kind of like what Islam is, you know. So the only way they can keep it under control is to have these like autocratic mullahs.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'd just be all over the place, you know, reproducing.
Yeah.
So that's problematic when it's not under God. So the Middle East is always this complicated mess. So I guess one danger is also that if Iran collapses, you know, who's actually behind the revolution? I mean, is it a kind of would it get worse, for example, because people are worried the kind of weapons that Iran has, as you said, being supported by Russia. You know, they have substantial weapons. Whether they have nuclear weapons or not is not 100% clear, but certainly they have a nuclear program.
Yep.
Right. So one concern is, hey, if this regime goes down, maybe the next one will be worse. So it's always difficult when there's a regime change because it's a vacuum of power.
Yeah, and definitely like Cookshan and Hyung are always saying, you know, there's the Cain type and Abel type revolutions. Right. Yeah, so it's hard to say, you know, what this one will be at the moment, you know, because there's no like clear like kind of even that, you know, there's even within the protests there's no structure, you know, they're popping up everywhere just kind of randomly in general. There's no like kind of group leading it right now.
Really?
So so like it's just kind of sparking up all over the place in small towns, big cities, and so right now it's kind of difficult to see where it's going to lead. I hope it doesn't lead to more, you know, censorship and, you know, control of the Iranian people, but you know, there's always that possibility too, because already they've shut down the internet in Iran, so a lot of the, you know, stuff that's actually happening isn't being, you know, because, you know, everyone has phones and recording, but a lot of it's not getting out because the internet's been shut down by the government.
Wow.
So there's that kind of already that level of censorship happening. So hopefully, you know, after the protest is over with, this doesn't continue to be that kind of, you know, extreme.
That's right, but you know, so much depends on a leader. If you think about the American Revolution, for example, you referred to the type of revolutions that Kuchim talked about, and the Freedom Society talks about this a lot, right? The idea of an Abel type revolution of wealthy people, like the wealthy class dividing, Abel and Cain. But it so much depends on a leader.
Yeah,
it really does. If you look at the American Revolution, for example, they really just completely risked their necks to do this. As soon as they signed the Declaration of Independence, they were dead men.
Yep.
You know, and you figure they think of themselves as English citizens. Now they're declaring we're not part of England. We're totally against the crown. I mean, the British Empire was the most powerful empire in the world at that time. There's no way they're going to beat them militarily.
Yeah.
There's just no way. So they literally risked their lives. Getting back to our original point about self-denial, denying ourselves in front of the providence of God. So they somehow pulled out a victory. But then you see there was such a vacuum of power at that time as well that there was a lot of pressure on George Washington to become king.
Yeah.
To fill that vacuum of power, because this is a complete experiment going on here. Although in Britain, because of Britain common law, because of the Magna Carta and because of the British common law, there was protection of civil liberties somewhat there.
Yeah.
Although there was a authoritarian monarchy, right? So for the Americans to say, "Oh no, we're not going to have a monarchy," that's like a huge risk. But they did that, you know, and George Washington deferred power. He refused power.
Yeah.
You know, today, who would refuse power? I mean, look at the Clintons.
Yeah.
Look at that fushing Clintons compared to George Washington.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
These people are like low life, you know, troglodyte, cave dwelling, slime, et cetera, beings from the underworld.
Yeah.
Compared to George Washington. And so I would think, today, I mean, we're more than 200 years later, you sometimes think that in general, as time goes on, people improve. The idea of universal human development, it really doesn't happen that way, though.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you had Mozart back in the 1800s that wrote the type of music that no one writes today.
Yep.
Which is playful and joyful, by the way, and youthful. But, you know, there has to be a leader who emerges in the vacuum of power. that's going to stand on God's side. So in Iran as well, someone from the Islamic world has to emerge as a leader, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I really don't like, I feel like a lot of people who follow Islam, they don't really realize like how political it is,
Right.
So I feel like there really needs to be a kind of reformation in the Islamic like kind of religion where it's they turn away from like all the political like teachings of Islam, and kill dissidents and all that kind of stuff, and really focus more on kind of a relationship with well, they call it Allah, but relationship with God. So kind of get away from this political structure and all these kind of different teachings about how your life should be, and really focus more. They really need a leader who teaches them to focus more on building a relationship with God.
Right.
Like Hyung was always saying, we don't need religion, we need a relationship.
Right.
So I really feel like they need that kind of leader who takes them away from this religion based kind of aspect of their faith, and go more towards a relationship based faith. And then I feel like that they really can, off of that, build more sovereignty, based on their relationship with God instead of religion. Because really, the religion is pretty crazy. If you study it, like we've been doing with Hyung, as he brings it up at Sunday service and on the King's Report. It's really, if you go into it, all the religion aspect of it is, it's completely crazy. But if you just focus on more of a relationship aspect, and if you call him Allah or God,
the merciful,
the merciful,
I could just start with that.
So, start with the merciful.
Hey, God is merciful.
Yeah. So start with building a relationship and not focusing on the religion too much. I feel like if they can have that kind of leadership and that kind of focus, then protests like this and kind of the people coming together to say this is not what we want, then I feel like as long as they get away from the religion aspect, then they can really, start to build sovereignty in their nation.
Yeah, that's quite profound what you said right there. So, and we face it here, older guys like myself. I mean, we've had to come out of the state-controlled religion. I mean, sadly, that's kind of what the Unification Church Family Federation became, and it's a really difficult thing mentally to untangle, and you can probably see the struggle of the older people. I often thought with the younger people like your age, looking at the older members, must sometimes look at us quizzically, like why are they doing what they're doing? What's going on? Do you know? Because I don't know if that's true, but I do that sometimes because it's a very difficult thing to unwind. So I think for Islam as well, for the people who are in Islam that have been in an indoctrinated system for so long, in an absolutist ideology, where even if they think about making changes or challenging the so-called scripture, it's death. Your head's off. But again, Christians had to go through this. The papacy was completely corrupt, and it took one man, took Martin Luther. Of course, there were others before him. There was Huss and some others that had been martyred before him, so it was percolating. But it took one man to stand up and risk his life. So really, and we should really take that on board, as far as risking our lives. I mean, Kukchanim talks about this a lot. Living beyond death. Well, Jesus said, "Lose your life to gain life," and that's what freedom is. So it's a lesson for us too. I mean, looking at it today, but. I think, like the principle says, revolutions will go on until the freedom of the original mind is attained. We all have that freedom of the original mind, as the principle says. So great. Maybe we could look quickly at the Pakistan situation. Oh, yeah. You got that there?
Yeah, so Pakistan says no alliance with U.S. after Trump suspends over $1 billion in aid. So basically, we've been, funding Pakistan, which is in turn funding terrorists and funding our enemies.
Right.
So Trump's basically saying, we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to, give you aid, and you're just going to turn around and give weapons to our enemies. So, I mean, it really comes down to freedom and responsibility. I mean, sure, you feel bad for these kind of war-torn, Middle Eastern countries. There's been so much chaos,
Right.
in the past few decades, in these countries, but really, it shouldn't, be at like a kind of a state level, because obviously, the state's very corrupt, like we were just saying with Iran. But it should be more of the people. We should kind of try to liberate the people more, not just throw money at the problem, but kind of try to offer aid in terms of kind of educating the people in terms of how they can gain more sovereignty and be more free in terms of like we were just talking about, in terms of getting away from kind of the religion aspect of government and dealing more with the relationship. So I really think this is, I mean, it's just maybe in terms of the whole scheme of things, it's just $1 billion. I mean, it's weird saying that, but it's in terms of global economy, it's not it's an extreme amount of money, but it's really symbolic. I think we're not going to fund our enemies and then fight them.
Yeah,
it's so it's just
they can buy our weapons and we can fight them.
Yeah, so it makes sense. Symbolically, Trump saying, yeah, we're not gonna support this anymore as a nation. Yeah. So I feel like this is something that people can get behind on both sides. It's like, okay, yeah, Pakistan has been funding our enemies, and we've been funding them. So I don't want my tax dollars to go to that. Yeah. So any normal person, I feel like, would be like, Pakistan's giving money to evil people that are killing our soldiers.
Exactly.
So I don't want my tax dollars going to that. So I feel like this is a very good move by Trump. It's a good, especially in terms of all this other stuff, it's a good PR kind of move.
Sure, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it points out the fact also, the blessing of having the Chattanooga Constitution, because again, America wrote a constitution. Britain didn't have a constitution, and Britain today suffers. There's no right to free speech in Britain explicitly.
Yeah,
but which is why they can, put Tommy Robinson in jail. But the U.S. has a right to that. And now with the Chattanooga Constitution, which is given as revelation by God, this can be applied to any sovereign situation. It can be applied to a nation. And like you're saying, Rio, very correctly, the whole impetus of the Chattanooga Constitution is devolution. I took 2 courses with it, and it's trying to wrap your head around it. It's so different, but there's no way around it. There's no way with the Constitution that you can build centralized power. You just cannot do it. And in the middle of it is the kingship, the bloodline of God, which is eternal. And the king himself is bound by heavenly law. It says explicitly in the Constitution that any kings of Chattanooga that become unrighteous will be, mercilessly judged by heaven, and that will happen. We know there's a spiritual world and physical world, and we know true Father is the King of Kings. We know our Lord Jesus Christ is the Messiah. We know our second King is the inheritor, true inheritor and representative body of the King of Kings, of the Lord Jesus Christ. We know the bloodline of God is secure through the cosmic perfection blessing of September 23rd. We know the 3 generations are vertically in line, and everything's good to go. So now's the time for us, the Chattanooga citizens, to fearlessly step forward, step over that line of life and death. It looks a little scary, but once we get on the other side, hey, it's like Kuchanim says, hey, we're dead already. Death is life. And then we are going to actually begin and see the eternal kingdom of God built on earth right from here. What a blessing, eh?
Aju.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Rio. It's been my pleasure. It's been fun. So everyone, stay strong, stay warm. If you're in the cold today, let's unite in heart, brothers and sisters, with God, with our Lord Jesus Christ, with our true Father, King of Kings, with our second King, and 3 kingship providence. Let's bring the victory to God. Amen and Aju. God bless you all. Thank you.